Naruto. I have an attribute panel. Chapter 1. March of the 42nd year of Konoha was a relatively peaceful time. Not long after the Second Great Ninja War ended, and after a prolonged period of conflict, all nations were now quietly licking their wounds, hoping to gain greater advantages in any future wars that might erupt. On the 8th, the weather was clear and cloudless, a perfect day for an outing. At the notice board outside the Ninja Academy, a crowd was surging. Some were examinees coming to check the results, but more were family members accompanying them. Some families even came out in full force, a grand procession. Matsushita Taichi, using his small stature to his advantage, squeezed and twisted his way through the crowd until he finally stood in front of the notice board. His gaze quickly scanned the announced list, and at last, he saw his name at the end of it. With that, he finally let out the breath he had been holding. Although he had full confidence in the exam, as an orphan who grew up in an orphanage, he still harbored considerable worries about whether he could successfully enroll in the Ninja Academy. After all, during this period in Konoha, there was a certain rat in the gutter who always liked to target children from orphanages. Taichi was afraid he might also be abducted by Danzo to the root. But now that the dust had settled, it was always a cause for joy. The assessment was passed. All that remained was to submit the documents and follow the procedures. He had heard that this step had never gone awry before, and he just had to wait until April 1st for the official start of school. Then, Taichi would officially become a first-year student at the Ninja Academy. Thinking about this, Matsushita Taichi shifted his attention to the attribute panel in his mind. This panel had appeared after he awakened his past life's memories at the age of 4. Name: Matsushita Taichi. Occupation: Commoner LV5 Max. Talent: Diligence can compensate for lack, effort yields rewards, however small. As an ordinary person, this is the most suitable talent for you. Age: 6 years old. Constitution: 7. Strength: 9. Agility: 8. Spirit: 17. Attribute points: 4. Skill points: 4. Skills: Basic Taijutsu LV5, 621 800ths, Basic Meditation LV6, 345 1000ths. Hint: Learn Chakra Cultivation Technique, produce the first portion of chakra, and you can change your profession to Ninja Apprentice. Evaluation: You are currently only slightly stronger than your peers. In the ninja world, you are trash. Although it wasn't the first time he had seen the panel, it always felt magical every time he looked at it. Aside from that full evaluation, was he really only slightly stronger than his peers? From his observations, the average adult's attributes were generally around 10. He was only 6 years old this year, and most of his attributes were already close to an adult's, with his spirit even at 17 points. Although this was a fusion of 2 lives, it was still quite remarkable. As for attribute points, ever since he first added 1 point and found that his mental and physical strength fully recovered, he never added them casually again. These were life-saving elixirs, recovery immortal pills. Using one at a critical moment could truly save his life. Furthermore, attributes could be increased through training, which further highlighted the importance of attribute points. The same went for skill points. Why use skill points to level up skills that could be quickly improved through self-training in the early stages? Thinking about the massive experience points needed for higher levels later on, wouldn't it be better to save these skill points for then? Moreover, Taichi discovered that skill points could help a new skill quickly become proficient. He recalled how basic meditation had been stuck at LV0 and he couldn't learn it, but then one skill point immediately brought it to LV1. With this function, once he learned the Flying Thunder God technique in the future, mastering it would be a breeze. As for the only 2 skills, Basic Taijutsu and Basic Meditation, the panel information indicated that they were the most suitable mental and physical training methods for him, deduced by the panel itself based on information from his 2 lives. It was the existence of this panel that prevented Taichi, who had just awakened his past life's memories, from being lost and helpless, giving him the confidence to survive in this dog-eat-dog world. One must know that in the later stages of the Naruto world, it was truly a world based on bloodline. If you didn't have a good ancestor, you would truly be reduced to the trash among trash. The panel, however, gave Taichi the confidence to break through this bloodline-centric view. And the talent of diligence can compensate for lack, further boosted this confidence. What is it that people fear most? It's putting in effort but getting no reward. Especially when hitting a bottleneck that lasts for years or even more than a decade, it can truly make one feel like dying. This talent was indeed the best for someone like him, who had no special bloodline. However, relying solely on the panel was not enough. Taichi's current achievements were all obtained through his own training. If he could become invincible just by adding points, considering the potentially limited attribute and skill points, it would be good enough if they could allow him to reach the cage level smoothly, not to mention the super cage and 6 paths levels above that. And being able to train diligently regardless of the weather at such a young age was also because he had such a good orphanage director, Yukushi Nono. The orphanage had limited funds and couldn't support Taichi's high-intensity training. But this didn't deter Yukushi Nono. Her medical ninjutsu could, to a certain extent, compensate for the lack of sufficient medicinal ingredients, and she could also provide necessary treatment when Taichi overtrained. Thinking of that gentle and beautiful older sister, Matsushita Taichi felt a warmth in his heart. However, the thought that Nono was also a member of Root, and the image of Danzo's sinister face, sent a chill down his spine. I still need to become strong as quickly as possible. There aren't many years between the second and third Great Ninja Wars. And then there's earning money. Thinking about the various indispensable equipment and secret medicines for future training, Taichi felt another headache. He wasn't an orphan with no background. His parents had both been Konoha Chunin and had left him an inheritance. Now, as soon as he officially became a student at the Ninja Academy, he would be able to claim his parents' inheritance. At that time, he could also move out of the orphanage, as it was crowded and not very private. However, his parents' inheritance might not be much, as they were only civilian Chunin. With the village's subsidy, living expenses should be fine, but training would be difficult, so he still had to earn money. Matsushita Taichi secretly pondered various ways to make money, and then he heard crying from nearby. What? How could this be? My name isn't there, Dad, do you see it? Might Guy, don't give up, keep looking. You've tried your best, you'll definitely succeed. Taichi turned his head and saw 2 figures in green jumpsuits with bowl cuts. Might Die and Might Guy. This scene indeed made one want to laugh, but listening to their words, Taichi couldn't laugh. These 2 were also people who achieved extraordinary things through hard work. He turned again, looking at the people around him who would soon be his classmates. Kurenai Yuhi, Genma, Obito, Shizune. They were all so small. They all looked so cute. He averted his gaze. If he kept looking, Taichi felt he would become evil. Just as he turned back, Matsushita Taichi saw a white-haired figure with hands in his pockets walking through the crowd from behind. This guy, at such a young age, was already putting on airs. He really wanted to punch him. But it was just a thought. The current Taichi couldn't beat Kakashi. Seeing Kakashi, and then thinking of Might Guy and the 8 Gates released formation, Taichi confirmed that Might Guy's name was not on the list. However, Guy was indeed a student of this generation, so Taichi started walking. His steps, originally heading back to the orphanage, turned towards a nearby swing. He sat on the swing, swaying back and forth, watching the figures of Might Die and Might Guy. Not long after, the father and son walked away dejectedly, but Taichi didn't leave. He waited quietly. Sure enough, in less than half an hour, Might Guy reappeared. He had a long banner draped over him and began running wildly in circles around the school, the banner proclaiming, "Youth is burning." This scene attracted the attention of many people nearby, and quite a few jeers reached Taichi's ears. Taichi was unmoved. He got off the swing and walked over. Hey! Might Guy, who was running, suddenly noticed someone beside him. He paused slightly, and his pace involuntarily slowed. Did you also fail the assessment? No, I passed. But that doesn't mean I don't need to work hard, does it? Might Guy's eyes lit up, and he subconsciously asked, what? Matsushita Taichi secretly smiled and quickened his pace, overtaking Might Guy. Effort can't possibly go unrewarded. If there's no reward now, it just means we haven't tried hard enough. Guy, my name is Matsushita Taichi. I believe you can definitely join the Ninja Academy. A bowl of inspirational chicken soup made Guy so excited that he stopped in his tracks. Looking at Taichi, who had already run far ahead, Guy shed 2 lines of tears, and at the same time, an infinite surge of power seemed to erupt within him. My goal is to run 500 laps around the Ninja Academy. If I can't do that, I'll do 500 frog jumps. Shouting his goal loudly, Guy quickened his pace and caught up with Tai Chi. Under the setting sun, the two ran side by side, circling the school lap after lap. From that day on, 2 figures appeared outside the school, running laps around it regardless of the weather. Sometimes Might Guy would also appear, cheering them on. Other times, it was just the 2 of them, perhaps accompanied by the taunts of some children, but none of this affected Tai Chi and Guy. Sometimes, 2 white-haired figures, one tall and one short, would pass by, their gazes sweeping over them. What? Kakashi, do you know them? No, I don't. I'm just curious, father. Remember them, Kakashi. They can become strong in the future, Tsukumo said with certainty. Hearing this, Kakashi once again focused his gaze on Tai Chi and Guy. Strong, huh? 20 days later, it was March 28. Hiruzen Sarutobi, the 3rd Hokage, came to the Ninja Academy for the final preparations for the opening ceremony and happened to see Tai and Guy sweating profusely. He then inquired about the 2 of them from their teacher. What hard-working youngsters. With such promising juniors, the future of Konoha will surely be bright. The very next day, Might Guy's name appeared on the Ninja Academy's bulletin board. Guy, congratulations. Hard work always pays off, Tai said with a sincere smile. He knew it, how could this class be complete without Might Guy? The 3rd Hokage must have seen Guy's performance later and decided to add him. Thank you, Tai, Guy said happily. His efforts had finally paid off, and that made him happier than anything. Let's keep working hard. Today, we'll run 800 laps around the academy. If we can't finish, we'll do 800 handstands. April 1st. Over 305 and 6-year-olds gathered on the Ninja Academy's training grounds. The 3rd Hokage stood on a platform, passionately proclaiming the will of fire. One should not underestimate the influence of the will of fire. Although this spirit seemed somewhat abstract, and despite the fact that the high-ranking officials who promoted it sometimes led astray, the will of fire was indeed suitable for the current situation of the Land of Fire and Konoha village. Tai wouldn't look down on the will of fire, but he wouldn't truly believe in it either. It could be quite useful when necessary. Compared to Tai, who had lived 2 lives, the common people of the Land of Fire, with their almost non-existent education, and the Konoha ninja, who focused solely on combat, were very receptive to the will of fire. It offered just the right amount of spiritual encouragement and a simple, easy-to-understand logical framework, making it one of the important reasons why Konoha surpassed the other 4 great ninja villages. As long as there are leaves dancing, fire will burn eternally. The glow of the fire illuminates the village and causes new leaves to sprout. The passionate 3rd Hokage concluded his speech. The new students and ninjas responded with enthusiastic applause, and the opening ceremony ended. Classes would officially start tomorrow. Matsushita Tai and Might Guy walked home arm in arm, and on the way, they saw a panting Uchiha Obito. Sure enough, he was late again. Kakashi stopped, eyeing Obito askance. Even someone who can be late for the opening ceremony. Uchiha Obito turned around angrily, knowing it would be him, Kakashi, making sarcastic remarks at a time like this. Tai also stopped, turning back to watch the show. Back then, Uchiha Obito was the brightest kid among his friends, until Kakashi appeared and stole all the limelight, especially from Rin. Indeed, seeing Rin look at Kakashi again, Obito grew even more furious. No wonder Obito immediately awakened his Mangekyo Sharingan when he saw Rin die in the future. He had been fond of Nohara Rin since he was so young. Indeed, Obito, Rin, and Kakashi were already familiar playmates before they entered the academy, unlike Tai, who had lived in the orphanage until then. Currently, he only knew Might Guy. Here, this is for you. Nohara Rin handed a file bag to Obito. I knew you'd be late, so I sorted everything out for you. Huh. Uchiha Obito was stunned for a moment, then surprisingly took the file bag. It has to be you, Rin. Thanks, you really saved me. If it weren't for you, Grandma would scold me again when I got home. What a beautiful scene. I hope they cherish this moment. Matsushita Tai sighed to himself, then patted Guy's shoulder. Let's go. What, Tai, do you know them? Guy also looked back. I guess so. That white-haired guy is the son of the famous Konoha's White Fang. I see. It seems we have another rival now. Not just one. There are quite a few talented individuals in our class, aren't there? I need to work even harder. Of course. How about we race now to see who gets to your house first? All right. With that, the two quickly dashed off. When they returned to Taiyi's new home, the house, which had been uninhabited for a long time, had already been cleaned by Nono with a few older orphans. What was unexpected was that Might Dai had also come to help clean. One should know that Dai was usually busy with missions. After all, as a genin, he had to support two taijutsu users, so he couldn't afford not to work hard. Looking at the room, which was completely refreshed compared to when he received it yesterday, Tai stepped forward and took Nono's hand, saying, "You've worked hard, Sister Nono." Then he turned to everyone and said, "And everyone else, stay for dinner today. No one is allowed to leave. Yay! We get to taste Brother Taiyi's cooking again." A few little kids cheered excitedly. Taiyi's cooking skills had been honed over 2 lifetimes. If cooking had a level system, he would at least be LV20. Uncle Dai, you should stay too. Try my cooking, I guarantee you won't regret it. Might Dai, who was about to leave after helping, stopped upon hearing this, revealing his sparkling white teeth and laughing, "Oh, thank you so much, Tai. Uncle will stay and enjoy your food today." Haha, everyone, please wait a moment. I'll go cook now. With that, Tai went straight to the kitchen. He had bought the ingredients early in the morning after his workout, knowing that Nono would bring people to help today, so he specifically bought a lot more, otherwise, it wouldn't have been enough for so many people. Let me tell you, Brother Taiyi's cooking is the best in all of Konoha. You'll know once you taste it, a little kid exaggerated. Really? Guy's eyes widened in surprise. Taiyi never mentioned it. An hour later, looking at the dishes on the table, which were all colorful, fragrant, and delicious, and distinctly different from ordinary Japanese cuisine, could they really have been made in such a short time? Guy and Dai were dumbfounded. How about it? I didn't lie to you, did I? Don't listen to these little rascals. Uncle Dai, Guy, hurry and eat while it's hot. The taste won't be as good if it gets cold. Then let's eat. The two clasped their hands together, then picked up the dishes in front of them and put them into their mouths. Immediately, tears streamed down like a waterfall. It's so delicious. Haha, I knew it would be like this, the earlier kid laughed exaggeratedly again. Eat quickly. Food can't even shut your mouth. Look at everyone, if you don't eat now, there won't be any left. Ah, you guys are disloyal. Why didn't you wait for me? Saying that, he also joined the scramble for food. Only Nono, watching the lively scene, ate slowly, a faint smile occasionally appearing on her lips. After this sumptuous lunch, and after cleaning up, Might Dai and Might Guy said their goodbyes and left first. Then Tai also saw Nono and the group of little friends out the door. Sister Nono, don't worry, I can take care of myself. Besides, you can always come and visit me often. Tai said to Nono, who was constantly telling him various precautions. Nono smiled and nodded, I believe you, but if you encounter any difficulties, you must come back to the orphanage and tell me. The orphanage will always be your home, remember? Yes, I will. Tai nodded solemnly. Nono took out a notebook she had prepared earlier and handed it to Tai. These are my notes on medical ninjutsu that I've been studying over the years. You can try practicing them once you can cultivate chakra. If you don't understand anything, you can come back and ask me. Consider this your housewarming gift. Tai eagerly took the notebook, happily hugging Nono's waist, and exclaimed in surprise, "Ah, thank you so much, sister." Nono stroked Tai's head and said, "From today onwards, Tai is also a little adult. You can stand on your own now. Keep up the good work." Tai let go of Nono and watched her and the group of little friends slowly walk away, disappearing into the distance. Thinking about Nono's future, Nono was just barely in her early 20s, meaning there were at least 10 years until her estimated death. 10 years. Matsushita Tai withdrew his gaze and turned back into the room. I must become a Jonin, or even a cage-level ninja, within these 10 years. Otherwise, I won't be able to protect Nono and everyone at the orphanage. Of course, the best way would be to find an opportunity to eliminate Danzo. How many tragedies in Konoha were orchestrated by that guy behind the scenes? There would be opportunities. During the Third Great Ninja War, that guy was often out on missions. At that time, as long as he was strong enough, killing Danzo wouldn't be impossible. The key was still to have strength. Collecting his thoughts, Tai turned towards the study with the notebook. In his study, he placed the scroll Sister Nono had given him on the table, looking at the other scrolls that were already there. These were some of the few inheritances left by his parents. Since he had officially become a Ninja Academy student, these ninja-related items, which had previously been stored by the village, were returned to him. His parents were both Chunin before they died in battle, and they were commoner Chunin, so they didn't leave much information about ninjas. After organizing, there were only 2 scrolls of information. One was his father's insights and experiences on learning the 3-body technique, and the rest were 2 C-rank fire release jutsu, Great Fireball Technique and Phoenix Flower Jutsu, both very basic fire release ninjutsu. Looking at the other scroll, which was left by his mother, it also contained insights into learning the 3-body technique, as well as information and insights on wind release. Great breakthrough. He hadn't expected his mother to be a wind release ninja. Although she only knew one wind release ninjutsu, Tai felt he had a high chance of having wind attribute chakra. Wind attribute users were relatively rare in Konoha, the most famous being Danzo. Looking at these 2 scrolls, and the dense notes and extensive experience written on each ninjutsu record, Tai could clearly feel the emotions his parents had when recording these scrolls. They must have wished they could personally hand these 2 scrolls to Tai and guide him, hand in hand, to become a ninja. Unfortunately, none of that could come true. Having died early in battle, they could only leave Tai in the village, in the orphanage. Fortunately, at the orphanage, Tai met Yakushi no, the responsible director. This could be considered their spirits in heaven protecting Tai. Thinking of this, Tai wiped away the tears from the corners of his eyes and cheered up again. Even for his parents in this life, Tai had to live well, step by step, reaching the pinnacle and becoming the strongest person in this ninja world. Tai first picked up the scroll left by his father and read it carefully. Tomorrow, classes would officially begin, and the Ninja Academy teachers would then teach the chakra cultivation technique. Children before the Ninja Academy were forbidden from being taught the chakra cultivation technique because they were too young at that time, and cultivating chakra too early would affect their growth, development, and future potential. Of course, this only applied to children from commoner families and orphans like Tai. Ninja families naturally had their own methods, either secret medicines or high-level ninja guardians, which allowed their children to cultivate chakra early without affecting their future. Otherwise, how could there have been so many young children fighting on battlefields during the Warring States period and even now? Looking at the scroll in his hand, every ninjutsu was written in great detail. Although Tai couldn't actually perform or practice them yet, he could first understand their principles and practice the hand seal sequences for each jutsu, striving to complete the hand seals in the shortest possible time when he could finally perform them. After reading the scrolls written by his parents, he finally picked up the scroll given by Nono. Compared to his parents' scrolls, the one Nono gave him was undoubtedly of higher value. Even in Konoha, medical ninjutsu wasn't something just anyone could learn. Without a certain level of talent, contribution, and connections, you wouldn't even know where to learn it. The content of this scroll was also very comprehensive, allowing a complete medical novice to become a formal medical ninja step by studying it. It included C-rank healing jutsu, B-rank delicate illness extraction technique and mystical palm technique, and A-rank chakra scalpel. These jutsu were all standard for a high-level medical ninja. Tai dared to guarantee that even the official doctors at Konoha Hospital might not all master all the ninjutsu in this scroll, which showed how precious this scroll was. After reading this scroll, Tai understood Nono's care for him even more. Thinking of this friendship, Tai secretly clenched his fists, vowing never to let Nono and the orphanage be coerced by Danzo as they were in the original story. Checking the time, it was already evening after he had initially finished reading the 3 scrolls. He quickly prepared some simple food, ate it in a hurry, and then began his final training, basic taijutsu and basic meditation. Regarding this set of taijutsu, Tai had realized by now that it largely incorporated many familiar Chinese martial arts from his previous life as its foundation. After all, while many moves in the Naruto world had immense power, when it came to systematic taijutsu training, there wasn't much. Perhaps the Hyuga's gentle fist counted, but others were simply physical training and combat techniques. And this set of basic taijutsu, despite its humble name, had immediate effects. It thoroughly covered methods for training, nurturing, and combat. The training methods focused on building foundations and improving skills, strengthening physical functions through systematic exercise, mastering combat techniques, and cultivating inner strength. The nurturing methods involved specific exercises to maintain the body, repair wear and tear, balance chi and blood, and even enhance potential. Here, ninjas must be specifically mentioned. Whether it's training, combat, or even chakra cultivation, all cause damage to the body. The generally short lifespan of ninjas in Naruto is due to the severe wear and tear they experience daily. The nurturing methods in basic taijutsu happened to compensate for these deficiencies. The combat methods were practical fighting techniques, transforming the skills from the training methods into actual combat abilities. You performed basic taijutsu practice, and your related comprehension improved. Your skill basic taijutsu has improved, experience +1. You focused on the practice of basic taijutsu, civilian profession experience +1. Since your civilian profession has reached its maximum level, it cannot be further improved. Please advance your profession as soon as possible. The experience gained will be converted into relevant experience after advancement. He trained wholeheartedly, and every 10 minutes, a prompt would appear. This was the panel's greatest function, allowing Tai to clearly understand his progress and feel the joy of every improvement. With this motivation, Tai no longer found training boring, instead, he enjoyed it. After 2 hours of basic taijutsu training, he rested briefly, then began his basic meditation training. Compared to basic taijutsu, which focused on physical training, basic meditation placed more emphasis on mental training. It could significantly enhance mental strength and strengthen mental resilience and intensity. In Naruto, mental strength was a very important attribute, not only involving the practice and resistance of genjutsu but, at a deeper level, also inextricably linked to the cultivation of chakras yin release. And Tai, having awakened his past life memories, already had exceptionally high mental attributes, so practicing basic meditation had an even more significant effect. You performed basic meditation practice, and your related comprehension improved. Your skill basic meditation has improved, experience +1. You focused on the practice of basic meditation, civilian profession experience +1. Since your civilian profession has reached its maximum level, it cannot be further improved. Please advance your profession as soon as possible. The experience gained will be converted into relevant experience after advancement. After another 2 hours of training, it was already around 11 o'clock. Tai quickly washed up, lay in bed, and looked at the panel in his mind. Name: Matsushita Tai. Profession: Civilian LV5 Max. Talent: Diligence makes up for lack of skill. Age: 6 years old. Constitution: 7. Strength: 9. Agility: 8. Spirit: 17. Attribute points: 4. Skill points: 4. Skills: Basic Taijutsu LV6 113 1000ths, Basic Meditation LV6 754 1000ths. Hint: Learn chakra cultivation technique, produce the first chakra, can advance to Ninja Apprentice. Evaluation: As a newly enrolled Ninja Academy student, why aren't you learning the chakra cultivation technique quickly? Do you want to be a civilian your whole life? Ignoring the evaluation, after this period of training, basic taijutsu had leveled up once, and basic meditation was only over 200 points away from leveling up. Each upgrade was accompanied by the emergence of relevant insights, which made Tai feel that his current taijutsu skills were not inferior to some newly appointed genin. Perhaps what he lacked was practical combat experience. After all, he had encountered too few ninjas and had no clear concept of the strength of ninjas at various ranks. This would greatly improve once he enrolled in the academy and encountered more ninjas. Thinking about his future, Tai slowly drifted off to sleep. Ninja Academy, classroom. The teacher hadn't arrived yet, and the students were gathered in twos and threes, some chatting idly, others doing their own thing. The three sitting together at the front must be this generation's Inoshika Cho. The one still eating voraciously is said to be Akamichi Choto, the one sleeping out of boredom is Nara Shikaji, and the serious one sitting upright seems to be Yamanaka Shinya. The one next to them is definitely from the Inazuka clan, though I don't know their name. Their head is almost buried under the desk, playing with a ninja dog hidden in the drawer, having an absolute blast. Over there, a Hyuga with a frosty expression, a pair of Byakugan staring blankly ahead, making the student in front of them shiver. Taichi looked at his classmates filling the room. In the future, some of these classmates would become renowned in the ninja world, while others would die in war. This was the world of Naruto. Of course, Taichi wouldn't waste time, his hands were under the desk, constantly practicing hand seals. He repeatedly practiced the 12 seals, forwards and backward, to train himself to instinctively form the necessary seals. When the classroom was full of students, a burly ninja walked in, carrying a stack of pamphlets. "I am your teacher, Yamada Koki," the ninja wrote his name on the blackboard, then turned and said, "I like obedient children and dislike undisciplined ones. I specialize in taijutsu and fire release. I will be teaching you taijutsu and I am also your class's homeroom teacher. Now, according to the roster, everyone will introduce themselves. First, Matsushita Taichi." Unexpectedly, he was the first. Taichi wasn't timid, he stood up confidently and said, "My name is Matsushita Taichi. I like learning new things and dislike nothing. My dream is to become the strongest ninja and protect the orphanage and Director Nono. That's all." As someone with a psychological age greater than his actual age, Taichi knew how to answer to please the teacher. Dream on, the strongest in the ninja world are the Uchiha. Idiot, the Hokage is the strongest. Quiet. Teacher Koki said loudly, "A very good dream, Taichi-kun. Please sit down." Next, Uchiha Obito. "Hello everyone, my name is Uchiha Obito. Instead of what I like most, I should say who I like most." Ahaha, Obito scratched his head, chuckling foolishly, his eyes glancing in Rin Nohara's direction. "What I dislike most is Kakashi," Obito said without hesitation. Upon hearing this, Kakashi rolled his eyes, not even bothering to look at Obito, and everyone burst into laughter. Everyone was already well aware of the ongoing feud between Obito and Kakashi. "My dream is to become Hokage. Obito, I'm the Hokage." Someone below blurted out. "My dream is to become the most powerful ninja, even stronger than Lord Hokage. Everyone will bow to me when they see me." Ignoring those unreliable dreams, Matsushita Taichi silently memorized the names of all his classmates and their basic information. Hitaki Kakashi, Uchiha Obito, Nohara Rin, Shizune, Sarutobi Asuma, Yuhi Kurenai, Might Guy. These future renowned ninjas were all still little kids, and they were all his classmates in the same generation. Alright, that's enough for self-introductions. Now, let's officially begin class, Yamada Koki said. First, does everyone know what the most basic requirement to become a ninja is? Chakra. Everyone said in unison. Exactly, it's chakra. But does everyone know what chakra actually is, and how it's formed? This time, few people could answer. The few who could were from ninja clans, and of course, this definitely didn't include Obito. The physical energy assimilated by the body's 130 trillion cells represents the yang aspect. The mental energy cultivated through training and accumulated experience represents the yin aspect. The power created by harmonizing and blending these two energies is chakra. It is the foundation for ninjas to perform ninjutsu, genjutsu, and even taijutsu. The reason ninjas can be ninjas is because of chakra. Of course, having chakra doesn't mean you can perform ninjutsu. From pure energy to ninjutsu with various effects, seals, are required. But that's for a later lesson. Today, we'll focus on chakra. For those aspiring to be ninjas, the first step is the most important and the most difficult. The reason is that while the concept of chakra is not complex to explain and describe in words, extracting physical energy itself is not simple, and the so-called mental energy is even more elusive. Fortunately, through the efforts of past generations, we have summarized a very effective method, the chakra cultivation technique. Now, everyone, do as I say. Next, Everyone followed teacher Koki's instructions, found the most comfortable posture, and formed the not yet hand seal to help perceive physical and mental energy. The classroom fell silent. As his mind quieted, Taichi operated the chakra cultivation technique according to teacher Koki's instructions. He gradually felt currents of warmth continuously gathering from his entire body to his dantian in his chest, while simultaneously, currents of cool air flowed into his dantian in his mind. The two converged in his dantian, colliding and slowly giving birth to a new power. Most of this power settled in his lower dantian, at the navel, and a significant portion dispersed throughout his body. Taichi could feel that this dispersed chakra had the effect of strengthening and nourishing his body. It seemed that chakra was not without benefits for the body. It was only because ninjas frequently engaged in high-intensity battles, leading to excessive chakra extraction, which caused physical depletion and thus shortened their lifespan. With the successful cultivation of the first wisp of chakra, prompts from the system panel occasionally appeared in his ears, but Taichi, focused on cultivating chakra, ignored them all. He wanted to take advantage of having supervision now to familiarize himself as much as possible with chakra cultivation. In the classroom, teacher Koki, who was patrolling to prevent any accidents among the students, noticed Taichi. This is too fast, it hasn't even been 20 minutes yet. Thinking this, teacher Koki approached Taichi and carefully sensed him. That's right, it's chakra fluctuation. It seems a genius has emerged from the commoners this generation. I need to report this good news to Lord Hokage early today. Over the next hour or so, 2 more students successfully cultivated chakra, Nohara Rin and Might Guy. Clap. Alright, everyone, stop for a moment. Teacher Koki clapped his hands, and a faint chakra fluctuation emanated from them, startling a few students who were engrossed in chakra cultivation, including Taichi. That's all for today. Students who have already cultivated chakra, don't be complacent. Go back and continue to solidify that feeling, Koki urged. Students who haven't cultivated it yet, don't be discouraged. It's normal not to perceive physical and mental energy right away. I myself took 2 days to cultivate chakra, so everyone, go back and keep working hard, Koki encouraged. Class dismissed. With teacher Koki's dismissal, the classroom became lively. Everyone gathered in groups, asking about each other's progress. Some were frustrated, others happy. Taichi, did you cultivate chakra? Might Guy ran over, his face beaming, and immediately started asking Taichi. Of course, I cultivated it very early. What about you? You must have cultivated it too, right? Guy extended his hand, gave a thumbs up, and showed his signature big white teeth. Haha, as expected of my Taichi. You guessed it. Ahaha, youth truly requires mutual competition. Seeing Guy's happy expression, Taichi was genuinely happy for him. Having been specially admitted to the academy by the Hokage, he had always worried that he wouldn't be able to cultivate chakra. Now, everything was fine, and all his worries could be cast aside. Thinking this, Taichi again turned his attention to the panel in his mind. The previously unchecked prompts were all displayed. You have learned chakra cultivation technique LV0, 0 You have undergone chakra cultivation training, related insights have improved. Your skill chakra cultivation technique has improved, experience +1. Your skill chakra cultivation technique has improved, experience +1. Congratulations, your skill chakra cultivation technique has advanced to LV1, 0 You have cultivated your first wisp of chakra, meeting the job change requirements. Constitution 6, Spirit 6, Chakra Cultivation Technique LV1 inch. Initiating job change. Job change successful. Related experience converted. Profession Ninja Apprentice LV1, 85 100ths. Constitution +2, Strength +1, Agility +1, Spirit +1. You have gained the talent. Academic Ace. Academic Ace. There is nothing an academic ace cannot learn, unless physical conditions do not permit it. 10x concentration, thought processing speed increased by 100%, learning effectiveness doubled. Attribute points +1, skill points +1. Name: Matsushita Taichi. Profession: Ninja Apprentice LV1, 91 100ths. Talents: diligence can compensate for lack of talent, academic ace. Age: 6 years old. Constitution: 9. Strength, 10. Agility, 9. Spirit, 18. Chakra, 504,000. The number in parentheses is the maximum chakra that can be extracted in one day, exceeding it will cause physical depletion. Attribute points, 5. Skill points, 5. Skills. Basic Taijutsu LV6, 113 1000ths. Basic Meditation LV6, 754 1000ths. Chakra Cultivation Technique LV1, 23 100ths. Evaluation. A standout among your peers, but you are still a small fry in the ninja world. Looking at the new panel, Taichi's expression remained calm, but he was overjoyed in his heart. He was one step closer to his goal. Next was an afternoon of theoretical classes. Perhaps some children from ninja families didn't care, but Taichi studied very diligently. These were all the foundations for his future survival and progress. You have studied ninja-related knowledge, ninja apprentice profession experience +1. So learning could also grant experience. Taichi became even more focused. Lord Hokage. Oh, Koki, is something wrong at the Ninja Academy for you to come here now? Yes, Lord Hokage. Yamada Koki stood at attention, extremely excited. He hadn't expected the Hokage to remember his name. With that, he handed over the already organized file he held. I've discovered a genius civilian ninja in this cohort, so I compiled the information and came to report it immediately. His name is Taichi Matsushita. His parents died in the Second Great Ninja War, and he's been living in the orphanage ever since. Today, during his first chakra training, he managed to extract chakra in less than 20 minutes. Oh. Hiruzen Sarutobi took the file, listening to Yamada Koki's report while reviewing the document. When he saw Taichi's aspiration, his eyebrows involuntarily rose, to protect, huh? Clearly, compared to the rapid extraction of chakra, the Hokage valued Taichi's ideology more. This was due to their different positions. For the Hokage, there were many geniuses in Konoha, but a genius who adhered to the will of fire was more worthy of his attention. Very good, Koki. Continue to monitor this Taichi Matsushita. He has great potential to become a pillar of the village in the future, Hiruzen Sarutobi said to Yamada. Also, there are other children. This Might Guy and this Rin Nohara are also very good, pay attention to their development. Yes. While Yamada was reporting on the current batch of students to the Hokage, Taichi, who had just returned home after a day of classes, was contemplating a different problem, how to earn money in the shortest possible time. This was not only related to purchasing various medicinal herbs and ninja tools for his own training later on, but also to the future of the orphanage and whether Yakushi Nono could safely leave the route. It was known that Nono was originally able to leave route later, but Danzo, that old schemer, controlled the orphanage's funding, using it to threaten Nono into continuously performing route missions. If the orphanage had a continuous source of funding, would Nono still be blackmailed by Danzo? Even if there were other factors, having one less weakness was always a good thing. However, Taichi considered that he was currently just a 6-year-old kid, so most jobs were out of the question. And ninja-related industries, such as ninja tool manufacturing or explosive tag production, were also beyond his current knowledge base. After much thought, Taichi decided that he should combine his knowledge from his previous life to see if he could invent something to make a small fortune. Thinking this, Taichi continued to rack his brain, trying to figure out what would be most suitable. Food, clothing, housing, and transportation, these industries were either too high-end or required too much labor. He and the orphanage were too small, and he didn't have the time to get involved. After pondering for a long time, Taichi couldn't come up with any solutions, mainly because he was too young and there were too few things he could do. Checking the time, it was already past 6 p.m., and Taichi felt his stomach growling. So, Taichi went to the kitchen, intending to make himself some ramen to tide him over. As he was cooking, Taichi paused, looking at the garlic in his hand, lost in thought. Because the orphanage was short on funds, Taichi often used to go fishing in the river or catching birds in trees to supplement the orphanage's food supply. But this was the ninja world, and the fish and birds here were not to be trifled with. If you angered them, they wouldn't hesitate to take a bite or give you a scratch. Moreover, if you were trying to catch them for food, their resistance would be even fiercer. With repeated incidents, minor scrapes and bumps were inevitable. Minor injuries could heal on their own, and Nono was also a medical ninja. But once, Taichi took his friends to raid a bird's nest and was discovered by the mother bird. To cover his friend's escape, Taichi was severely pecked by the 2-meter wingspan bird, resulting in a penetrating wound through his arm. That injury was extremely serious. When Nono found out, she immediately took Taichi to the Konoha hospital. It was during that treatment that Taichi realized that, at least in Konoha Year 42, Konoha's medical conditions were still very poor. For example, the antibacterial and anti-inflammatory medicine had only slightly better efficacy than nothing. If it weren't for medical ninjutsu, the casualties in each great ninja war would have doubled. And speaking of antibacterial and anti-inflammatory drugs, penicillin is, of course, the first choice. However, the preparation of penicillin is very complex, and it's not certain if such a thing exists in the ninja world. But there is one thing that definitely exists in the ninja world, and that is garlic. And with garlic, there is allicin. Allicin is also a cheap and simply prepared antibacterial and anti-inflammatory drug. And the backdrop of the ninja world, with a world war every so often, is precisely the place where such drugs would thrive. Thinking this, Taichi clenched his fist happily. The problem of earning money could now be solved. So, Taichi quickly ate some ramen and then collected all the garlic he could find in the kitchen. The preparation of allicin is actually quite simple. Taichi used the organic solvent extraction method, which has a relatively high extraction rate. He first acquired a jar of white liquor, which he distilled several times to purify and increase its alcohol content. Next, he crushed all the garlic into a paste. Then, he soaked the garlic paste in the high-proof white liquor. Of course, it would be best to use pure alcohol for soaking and extraction, but since conditions didn't permit it now, he had to make do. Finally, the oily liquid obtained by distilling and purifying the extracted solution again was garlic oil, rich in allicin. Looking at the 2 or 3 grams of garlic oil extracted from 1 kilogram of garlic, Taichi was extremely nervous. Whether it would work depended on the upcoming verification. Taichi saw that it was getting late. He had been tinkering until now and hadn't done his training for the day, which he couldn't afford to neglect. So, he tidied up his things, put the hard-won allicin into a glass container, and stored it in the refrigerator. Finally, it was time for today's training. You performed basic taijutsu training, and your related comprehension improved. Your skill, basic taijutsu, has leveled up, experience +1. You focused on basic taijutsu training, ninja apprentice profession experience +1. You performed basic meditation training, and your related comprehension improved. Your skill, basic meditation, has leveled up, experience +1. You focused on basic meditation training, ninja apprentice profession experience +1. Because he now had an additional chakra extraction technique, Taichi compressed the training time for basic taijutsu and basic meditation, dedicating a full hour to practicing the chakra extraction technique. Taichi discovered that as long as he didn't extract chakra beyond his body's endurance limit in one go, chakra still had a very good strengthening and nourishing effect on the body. And once chakra was extracted, it would continuously dissipate outwards. How to maintain a certain amount of chakra constantly present within the body was a question Taichi had been pondering ever since he discovered chakra's strengthening effect on the body. Currently, he could only periodically perform chakra extraction to maintain a certain level of chakra in his body. As for how to solve this problem later, whether to make chakra extraction an instinctive, silent operation or if there was a way to reduce chakra leakage, all of this would have to wait until he had accumulated enough knowledge. You performed chakra extraction technique training, and your related comprehension improved. Your skill, chakra extraction technique, has leveled up, experience +1. You focused on chakra extraction technique training, ninja apprentice profession experience +1. Congratulations, your ninja apprentice profession level has increased. Attribute points +1, skill points +1. Finally, in the last moment of his training, his profession level, which was already close to leveling up, finally increased. Name: Taichi Matsushita. Profession: Ninja Apprentice LV2, 0200s. Talents: Diligence can compensate for clumsiness, academic ace. Age: 6 years old. Constitution: 9. Strength: 10. Agility: 9. Spirit: 18. Chakra. 804,200. The number in parentheses is the maximum amount of chakra that can be extracted in one day. Exceeding it will cause physical depletion. Attribute points. 6. Skill points. 6. Skills. Basic Taijutsu LV6 124 1000ths. Basic Meditation LV6 765 1000ths. Chakra Extraction Technique LV1 42 100ths. Evaluation. A small fry in the ninja world. Aside from hard work, you have no other choice. Looking at the attribute panel, and seeing the clear and evident progress each day, this was Taichi's source of happiness, allowing him to clearly know that he was growing stronger every single day. The next morning, after finishing his workout with Kai, Tai rushed to the market. He specifically chose to buy chickens and fish that were injured and inflamed, purchasing 2 chickens and 3 fish in total. Back home, Tai took the allicin out of the refrigerator and carefully applied it to the wounds of the 2 chickens. One of the chickens was even fed a small amount of allicin as food, serving as a control group to observe its effects. As for the 3 fish, it was even simpler. Each fish was placed in a separate basin, and different dosages of allicin were added to each basin, also serving as a control group. After finishing all this, it was time to wait for the results. Tai also packed up and headed to the Ninja Academy. As first-year new students who had just started school, there were still some rookies in the class who hadn't managed to extract chakra yet. Naturally, today, half the day was spent on chakra extraction training. According to teacher Yamada, they would spend every morning for the next month practicing chakra extraction. This was only possible in Konoha, where the ninja village system was established by Hashirama Senju and the Ninja Academy was founded by Tobarama Senju. The village didn't have such high demands on the students. If it were during the Warring States period, or even in other villages now, there wouldn't be so much time for Ninja Academy students to practice. The village would rush you to the battlefield as soon as you could extract chakra and learn the necessary knowledge. But Konoha, after all, still spoke of the will of fire. Feeling the chakra flowing within his body, at first Tai needed to constantly perceive it and deliberately guide it to flow along specific routes. But after 2 days of practice, Tai felt that the chakra slowly became like blood in his veins, able to circulate naturally. Tai had also indirectly asked teacher Yamada, and from teacher Yamada's reply, it was clear that this ability was generally only achieved by Jonin. Ordinary Chunin and Genin did not have such chakra control. Tai speculated that this might also be due to his system panel. Once a skill was formed, it became a permanent and unchangeable ability. This phenomenon could help Tai gradually solve the problem of chakra extraction becoming instinctive. Later, as long as he controlled the speed of chakra extraction to achieve a balance with his body's endurance, there would be no problem. Of course, this was not something that would happen in a short time, it still required continuous practice. For now, he just had this clear direction. You performed basic meditation practice, related comprehension improved. Your skill basic meditation has improved, experience +1. You focused on basic meditation practice, ninja apprentice profession experience +1. Congratulations, your constitution +1, strength +1, agility +1. The strengthening of chakra was also immediate. Attributes that might not have increased even after a month of training before, now increased after only 2 days of having chakra. Although this also had to do with his previous continuous training, it showed the effectiveness of chakra. There was indeed an indescribable gap between ninjas who could control chakra and ordinary humans, and Tai, having just stepped from one side to the other, felt this change so distinctly. With occasional prompts, the morning class ended. In the afternoon, teacher Yamada came into the classroom and announced that the next class would be shuriken throwing. Immediately, all the students cheered up. After all, they were all 5 or 6-year-olds, and practical lessons were always more interesting than staying in the classroom to study theory. Everyone excitedly followed teacher Yamada to the outdoor training ground. At this time, dozens of targets had already been set up on the training ground, the number exactly matching the number of students in the class. On the other side of each target, there was a small stand, with more than 10 shurikens and kunai placed on each. The students walked to their respective stands in order. Tai looked at the shurikens and kunai on the stand, picking one up and weighing it in his hand. The weight was no different from real shurikens and kunai, but they were all unsharpened, apparently specifically for practice. Alright, everyone, look this way, Teacher Yamada shouted, getting everyone's attention. Ninja tool throwing is one of the most basic combat skills for a ninja. Yamada stood in the middle of the training ground, facing the whole class, holding a shuriken in his hand. When throwing ninja tools, whether it's a shuriken or a kunai, the key lies in angle, power, and timing. As he spoke, he raised his hand and flung it, the shuriken drawing a smooth arc and accurately hitting the bullseye of a target 10 meters away. Your wrist should be relaxed, using inertia to throw it, not brute force. After speaking, he picked up another kunai, swung his hand, and flung it again. This time he added a little more force, and the kunai flew straight towards another target 15 meters away, hitting it accurately once more. The students below watched with excitement, applauding loudly. Alright, everyone remember the key points and actions from just now. Now, practice on your own. You learned ninja tool throwing, related comprehension improved. You acquired the ninja tool throwing skill, experience +1. Tai looked at the panel. This skill came relatively easily, but it was also a very practical one. Tai picked up a shuriken, imitating teacher Yamada's previous movements, adjusted his arm and finger posture, and with a flick of his wrist, the shuriken also drew an arc, and then, there was no then. Tai's forehead was covered in black lines. He hadn't expected to miss the target on his first throw, let alone not knowing where it had flown. Fortunately, he looked around at everyone else. Except for the ninja clan children, the other kids were just like him, so there was nothing to be ashamed of. Tai picked up another shuriken, recalling the feeling from before, slowly changing his posture. He felt that the key was the finger's force. After adjusting, he flicked his wrist again. He heard a thud, and this time it hit the target smoothly. Although it was only the edge of the target, it was still a great improvement. Next, Tai continuously picked up the ninja tools from the stand and threw them at the targets in front. Thud, 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 sounds kept coming, and his accuracy got better and better. Teacher Yamada also continuously patrolled behind the students. If he saw a student with an incorrect posture, he would go over and help correct their throwing stance. At the same time, he didn't forget to teach the importance of ninja tool throwing. Ninja tools are not just weapons, they are also a part of tactics. Feints, distractions, ambushes, flexible use can maximize their value. Did you remember? Yes. The students responded loudly. You performed ninja tool throwing training, related comprehension improved. Your skill ninja tool throwing has improved, experience +1. You focused on ninja tool throwing training, ninja apprentice profession experience +1. Congratulations, your skill ninja tool throwing has increased to LV10/100s. With the increase in skill level, a surge of insight about ninja tool throwing flooded his mind. Tai picked up another shuriken and threw it at the target. Sure enough, it hit the bullseye. He tried a few more times, hitting the bullseye every time. The insights granted by each skill improvement were truly amazing. It was like having years of practice instantly integrated into his body, incredibly powerful. Tai-kun. Tai turned his head at the sound, realizing it was Shizune next to him. What is it, Shizune-kun? I see you're improving so fast, could you teach me? Shizune said timidly. He hadn't expected Shizune to be so quiet as a child. Tai looked at the target in front of Shizune. There wasn't a single ninja tool on it yet. Sure, go ahead and throw one for me to see, Tai replied readily. Shizune seemed encouraged. She picked up a shuriken and threw it at the target, but as expected, it missed. Tai keenly noticed that when Shizune threw, at the moment the shuriken left her hand, she made a hooking motion with her hand. When you throw, you need to pay attention to relaxing your wrist, especially at the moment the ninja tool flies out. Don't hook your hand, Tai pointed out her problem to Shizune. These were just habitual issues, and once pointed out, they were easy to correct. Next, Shizune slowly changed her habit according to Tai's advice, and sure enough, her subsequent results got better and better. Thank you so much, Tai. Look, she was so happy she didn't even use the kun honorific for a classmate anymore, directly calling him by his name. No problem, if you have any questions, just come find me. You taught a classmate ninja tool throwing, related comprehension improved. Your skill ninja tool throwing has improved, experience +1. So, teaching others could also yield experience. This made Tai feel that there would be more ways to gain experience in the future. Originally, Tai was worried about what to do if he had too many skills later and not enough time to practice, but this opened up his thinking. It made sense. When teaching others, it was also a process of organizing and comprehending one's own knowledge. Reviewing the old to learn the new, the ancients truly did not deceive me. At the same time, teacher Yamada also noticed what was happening. Seeing Shizune making significant progress under Tai's guidance, Yamada was even more pleased. After school, Taichi returned home and eagerly went to the place where the experimental chickens and fish were kept. He first compared the two chickens and found that the wounds on both had significantly improved. The chicken that had been given Allison showed no signs of redness or swelling on its wound, clearly indicating that the inflammation had subsided. Then, he checked the 3 fish. Similarly, all of them had significantly improved, and depending on the Allison concentration, the fish with the higher concentration already showed signs of wound healing. My goodness, does Allison have such good effects, or is Allison in the ninja world just that amazing? Taichi secretly marveled, but no matter what, his grand plan to make money was now on track. After a while of joy, Taichi picked up yesterday's tools again and, with a clatter, processed the fresh garlic he had just bought today, spending quite some time to produce a small bottle of garlic oil. Looking at the garlic oil in his hand, he seemed to see countless banknotes waving at him. He thought for a moment and then felt it wasn't safe. If he just handed it over like this, wouldn't people know what it was just by smelling it? Thinking this, Taichi rummaged through his house and found some harmless but pungent-smelling bottles and jars, pouring their contents into the bottle. After shaking it evenly, he opened it and sniffed. How to describe it? The smell was a mix of all sorts of strange and peculiar scents. If you were to try and distinguish anything specific from it, you truly couldn't discern a thing. This was good. Tomorrow, he didn't have to go to the Ninja Academy, so he could go to the orphanage to discuss with Nono how to make money. Next, his daily training couldn't be neglected. The next day, after his usual morning exercise, Taichi went home, grabbed the bottle of Allison, and hurried to the orphanage. Upon arriving at the orphanage, he found that Nono had taken several older children out to buy supplies, so Taichi gathered the younger siblings still at the orphanage and began telling stories. The morning light spilled into the small courtyard of the orphanage. Taichi sat cross-legged by the old tree, surrounded by a dozen children, their eyes sparkling. With a single somersault, Sun Wukong travels 108,000 miles. Taichi gestured wildly, and the children gasped with wide-open mouths. So he runs faster than a ninja. A little girl with pigtails named Amy couldn't help but ask. Much faster. He can even pull out a single hair and transform it into many monkeys. Taichi laughed, mimicking Sun Wukong scratching his ears and cheeks, making the children giggle. But, when monsters eat children, does he make it in time to save them? The youngest, Kutra, clutched his shirt corner and asked softly. Of course. Taichi ruffled his head. With a dong of his Rui Jingu bang, the monster would be knocked down. He suddenly stood up and mimed a sweeping motion, making the children gasp and lean back, then they clamored with questions. What happened next? Will Tripitaka scold him? The morning breeze rustled through the leaves, and Taichi's voice, mixed with the children's laughter, startled the small birds dozing under the eaves. The sound of the courtyard gate opening echoed, and Taichi looked up to see Nono and a few children carrying large bags into the courtyard. All right, go play, everyone. I'll continue the story next time when I have time. Taichi waved the children away amidst their reluctant calls, then stood up and walked towards the entrance. Sister Nono, why did you buy so many things? He said, taking the bags from Nono's hands. Taichi, you're here so early, Nono smiled. The orphanage doesn't have much money left, and there was a promotion and discount at the store today, so I bought a bit more. Upon hearing this, Taichi's heart sank. Whenever the orphanage was short on money, Nono would always disappear for a while, and Taichi knew she was going to complete missions for the Foundation. However, remembering why he had come to see Nono today, Taichi's mood brightened again. Sister Nono, I came today specifically to discuss something with you. It might solve our orphanage's funding problems. Oh, really? Nono was also full of surprise after hearing this. Indeed, anyone would find it hard to believe that a 6-year-old child could solve such a problem. Nono put everything away and led Taichi to the office, closing the door behind them. Seeing Nono close the door, Taichi took out the small bottle from his pocket, reciting the prepared speech he had thought of earlier. You're saying that the contents of this bottle are even more effective than the antibacterial and anti-inflammatory drugs currently in hospitals. Nono said, incredulously. To be precise, it's much better. I've done experiments. A chicken with a bacterial infection can have its inflammation cleared up in one day with this. Nono looked at the small bottle in her hand, speechless for a long time. Taichi, what do you want to do? Nono looked at Taichi. Sister Nono, do you think our orphanage can make this stuff ourselves? Definitely not. If this thing were to be made, its value would be too great, and we wouldn't be able to protect it, Nono stated firmly. I knew it. Then we can only find a prominent figure to cooperate with, and this person must have a good reputation and be trustworthy, Taichi analyzed as he spoke. Sister Nono, do you know anyone like that? Nono thought for a long time but couldn't think of anyone she knew who fit the description. Sister, what about Lady Tsunade? Taichi suggested. She is not only the third Hokage's disciple but also a formidable medical ninja. She would definitely understand the value of this Allison. Nono thought about it and nodded in agreement. But we don't know Lady Tsunade, and we don't know where to find her. I might know about that. Then, after the two of them took care of some orphanage matters, Taichi pulled Nono to the entrance of Konoha's largest gambling den. They found a suitable spot and began to stake out. Taichi, do you really think Lady Tsunade will be in there? Nono asked, unsure. Just wait. If we're lucky, we'll spot her today, Taichi said, also unsure. Sister Nono, have you remembered everything we talked about earlier? Then when the time comes, you'll be the one to negotiate with Lady Tsunade, and I'll assist from the side, Taichi said. Time quickly passed to noon. Just then, a beautiful blonde woman walked out of the gambling den. Seeing the undulations at her chest in her iconic attire, Taichi and Nono exchanged glances, nodded to each other, and followed her. The two followed Tsunade into a small alley. As soon as they turned the corner, they saw Tsunade already standing there with her arms crossed. Hey, you two, you've been following me since you left the gambling den. Don't tell me you're afraid I'll welch on my debts. Tsunade said with an unfriendly expression. Hearing Tsunade's words, Taichi's forehead was covered in black lines. It seemed Tsunade had lost quite a bit at the gambling den earlier. He thought darkly, she wouldn't swallow our invention, would she? At this moment, Nono stepped forward and said, Lady Tsunade, I am Yakushi Nono, the director of the orphanage. This is Matsushita Taichi, one of the children from our orphanage. The situation is like this. So, you want me to act as a go-between and recommend that special medicine to the Hokage, Tsunade said expressionlessly. Tsunade, at this time, was at the lowest point in her life, suffering from hemophobia after experiencing the deaths of her younger brother and lover. She couldn't be bothered with anything related to the village. Find someone else, she said, and turned to leave. Nono was momentarily speechless, unsure how to respond. At this point, Taichi stepped forward. Lady Tsunade, as the granddaughter of the first Hokage and one of the Sannin, are you going to stand by and watch those patients who could have been cured die because of inadequate medication? Is this truly what the first Hokage would want to see? If an adult had said these words, Tsunade would probably have dismissed them as nonsense. But Tsunade, who had turned to leave, looked at Taichi speaking these words, and it was as if she saw Nawaki from back then. He was also so annoying. Bring that special medicine you mentioned, let me take a look. Taichi looked at the stunned Nono and nudged her with his hand. Nono, coming to her senses, took the small bottle from her pocket and handed it to Tsunade. Tsunade took the small bottle, opened the stopper, and sniffed. Immediately, an indescribable odor rushed to her head, and she quickly put the stopper back on and held it further away, looking at Taichi with exasperation. Brat, you've got quite a few tricks up your sleeve. Taichi smiled shyly, knowing his little trick wouldn't fool Tsunade. Alright, I'll go back and verify its efficacy, then I'll come find you too. Yes, Lady Tsunade, thank you for your trouble, Taichi and Nono bowed in gratitude. When the two looked up, Tsunade's figure was already gone. Truly worthy of being one of the Sanin. Taichi, you were really too bold just now. I was genuinely worried Lady Tsunade would give you a beating, Nono said, stroking Taichi's head. Haha, I was just in a hurry, I didn't think that much at the time. Taichi now felt a bit scared in retrospect. Now we just have to go back and wait. Well then, Sister No, I'll head back too. I still have training this afternoon. Okay. Upon returning home, Tai quickly tidied himself up and headed to the training ground, where he surprisingly saw Might Guy and Kakashi Hatake sparring. Kakashi's father was Tsukumo Hatake, the White Fang of Konoha. Although Guy's father was only a genin, he was a top-tier genin capable of opening the 8 gates and defeating the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist. Thus, both of them had the guidance of their fathers. This was evident in their sparring, which was disciplined and methodical. Unlike Tai, who was a complete novice with no fighting experience whatsoever. Watching their practice, the back and forth of their moves, and the transitions between offense and defense, Tai also began to mentally strategize how he would respond if he were in their place. At this moment, the two sparring individuals noticed Tai on the side. After clashing once, they used the momentum to retreat. Tai, you're a bit late today. Kakashi and I have been here since early morning. Youth cannot be so lazy. Guy exclaimed dramatically, flashing his bright white teeth at Tai. I had something to do this morning and went to the orphanage, Tai vaguely explained. By the way, when did you two become so close that you're practicing together? Haha, Kakashi is my lifelong rival. We met before school started. He then turned to Kakashi and said, Kakashi, this is Matsushita Tai, also my best friend. Idiot, we're classmates. I don't need you to introduce him, Kakashi said, ignoring Guy's embarrassed grin, and then invited Tai, let's have a match. Oh, why was Kakashi so competitive at this age? But Tai wouldn't refuse, this was precisely the experience Tai lacked at the moment. No problem, but I haven't had any combat experience before, so don't be disappointed. With that, the two walked to the center of the arena, formed the opposing hand signs, and began to fight. Kakashi lowered his center of gravity, moving as smoothly as a leopard. He lunged forward, his left leg sweeping towards Tai's lower body. Tai hastily jumped back to avoid it, but Kakashi changed his move quickly, pushing himself off the ground with both hands and following up with a high kick, aiming for Tai's chest. Tai, suspended in the air with no leverage, could only block with both hands. He was thoroughly knocked to the ground by Kakashi's solid kick. After falling, Tai immediately rolled backward to dissipate the force, using the opportunity to get up. After stabilizing himself, he immediately charged forward, throwing a series of punches. The speed of his jabs was even slightly faster than Kakashi's. This strong offensive caught Kakashi off guard for a moment, but he quickly regained his composure. Seizing an opportunity, he delivered another whip kick towards Tai's side. Tai blocked with his arm, and Kakashi used the momentum to turn and deliver an elbow strike, once again pushing Tai back a few steps. The two fought back and forth, but overall, Kakashi had the upper hand. Tai, after all, lacked experience, and many of his responses were inadequate. He could only occasionally use unexpected moves to turn the tide slightly. The two fought for another dozen rounds, and eventually, Tai was knocked to the ground by a flying kick from Kakashi and did not get back up. Lying on the ground, Tai gasped for breath, sweat trickling down his cheeks. Kakashi ceased his attack, walked over, and extended a hand to pull up Tai, who had already sat up. You're very strong, Tai. I can tell you rarely spar, but to perform like this is truly rare. After saying this, Kakashi remembered his father's previous assessment of Tai and Guy, and he agreed even more. Guy, who had been watching from the side, ran over, giving a thumbs up from afar. Tai, I can't believe how strong you are. It makes my youthful blood burn. Come on, Tai, let's have an exhilarating match too. Guy excitedly said, already getting into his starting stance. Alright. Tai was not intimidated. Having rested for a bit, his stamina had recovered. He also took his stance. Kakashi, watching their fighting spirit, stepped aside to observe. Seeing Tai ready, Guy charged forward without hesitation. Compared to Kakashi's focus on technique, Guy's attacks were powerful and heavy. Each punch, each kick, Tai found incredibly difficult to block. Slowly, Tai found his rhythm, no longer clashing head-on with Guy's moves, but instead trying to neutralize them with grappling and deflecting techniques. Occasionally, he would seize an opportunity to launch a strong counterattack, which could also put Guy in a frantic state. Kakashi, observing from the side, could see even more clearly that Tai's technique had improved tremendously. In just 2 matches, while not a complete transformation, it was certainly a different level. In his match with Guy, Kakashi even saw his own shadow in Tai's moves, a truly inhuman rate of progress. Actually, Tai's significant improvement was not surprising. His LV6 basic taijutsu was comparable to that of an average genin. What he lacked was combat experience, which would allow him to fully utilize his LV6 foundation. As the two continued to clash, Tai slowly began to run out of stamina. His movements gradually became distorted, and blocking and parrying became increasingly difficult. In the end, due to a slow movement and a delayed defense, he was struck in the chest by Guy's punch and fell to the ground. The battle ended, and both were panting heavily. Tai's tenacity had forced Guy to expend considerable energy to win the fight. Tai, huff huff. As expected of my best friend, huff huff. Such great progress, huff huff. Guy, still panting, didn't forget to flash his bright white teeth. At this moment, Tai was staring at the panel in his mind. You engaged in taijutsu sparring, related insights improved. Your skill basic taijutsu has improved, experience +2. You focused on ninja combat training, ninja apprentice class experience +2. Looking at the more abundant experience points than usual, Tai realized that, killing monsters to level up, was indeed the path more suited for him. Just like this, the experience points gained from just 2 matches were more than what he would get from 2 hours of regular training. Kakashi came over and helped Tai, who was still lying on the ground, up. The 3 sat in the shade of a tree to rest for a while, discussing their combat experiences. After their stamina recovered, the 3 continued their respective training. During this time, they would occasionally spar with each other to consolidate their previous gains. The cherry blossoms by the training ground were gently stirred by the wind, their petals fluttering between the 3. The sun slowly set, and the afterglow of the sunset bathed the 3, lengthening their shadows and witnessing their friendship. In the evening, Tai, dragging his tired body back home, quickly made something to eat before heading to his study. Recalling the day's gains, first, the matter of earning money finally had a lead. All that remained was to await Tsunade's reply, which, if quick, might yield results by tomorrow. And the sparring with Guy and Kakashi in the afternoon had also revealed a new way for Tai to gain experience. Everything was developing in a positive direction. Name: Matsushita Tai. Profession: Ninja Apprentice LV2, 127 200ths. Talents: Diligence can compensate for lack, academic overachiever. Age: 6 years old. Constitution: 10. Strength: 11. Agility: 10. Spirit: 18. Chakra: 657 4200. Attribute points: 5. Skill points: 5. Skills: Basic Taijutsu LV6 324 1000ths, Basic Meditation LV6 815 1000ths, Chakra Cultivation Technique LV2 15 200ths, Ninja Tool Throwing LV1 94 100ths. Rating: a fighter among the Kurami, looking forward to your further progress. Looking at his panel, compared to before school started, not only did he have 2 more skills, but his experience level had also increased significantly. The only thing still lacking was that he didn't have any ninjutsu. Looking down at the scroll on the table, now that he had chakra, ninjutsu training also needed to be put on the agenda. At the same time, on the other side of Konoha, at an izakaya, Tsunade, completely drunk, was sprawled on the table, fast asleep, having completely forgotten about the day's events. Across the table, a wryly smiling Jiraiya and Orochimaru exchanged helpless glances. Originally, they had been dragged by Tsunade to drink, but now, seeing her state, not only did they not get to drink, but they also had to deal with the mess of a drunken person. Ninja Academy, classroom. Teacher Yamada was garrulously explaining the key points of chakra extraction from the podium, hoping that the students who hadn't yet managed to extract chakra would be able to do so as soon as possible. Meanwhile, more than half of the students in their seats were doing their own thing. Yamada didn't mind this, not to mention the ninja clan children. Even for the students who had already extracted chakra, what was being taught now was a waste of their time. Yamada only cared that they didn't disturb other students learning. Taichi, in his seat, was one of them. He no longer needed supervision, and chakra extraction had slowly become a habit. He was currently practicing ninja hand seals. After all, ninjutsu couldn't be performed just by memorizing it, practice was essential. Take hand seals, for example, memorizing them was just the first step. The second step was to skillfully and accurately form the hand seals with both hands. The third step was to be able to channel chakra while forming the seals, as the purpose of the seals was to guide chakra for a better release of ninjutsu. Only after completing these three steps could one be considered capable of forming seals and performing ninjutsu. As for the speed of forming seals, that entirely depended on long-term training to achieve muscle memory. At 11:30 a.m., the morning classes ended. As soon as the teacher left, the classroom immediately erupted in chatter. Students who lived close to the school went home for lunch, while those who lived further away had to stay at school and eat the bento they had prepared earlier. Taichi, Guy, and Kakashi were among the latter. After their sparring match yesterday, their friendship had deepened. Now, the three of them gathered, eating and chatting. Just as the three of them were struggling with their bentos, a voice interrupted them. Taichi-kun, I have sushi here. Would you like to try some? The three of them looked up simultaneously, their eyes directed straight at the source of the voice. Shizune felt a little shy being stared at by three pairs of eyes. Taichi was a little surprised, but thinking of what had happened before, he smiled openly and didn't refuse. Thank you, Shizune. I won't be polite then. So the eating trio became four people. Of course, it was clear that these were two groups. Guy and Kakashi were closer, while Shizune and Taichi were a pair. Shizune invited Taichi to eat her food, so Taichi naturally had to reciprocate. Shizune, this is braised pork I made myself. You should try some too. Ah, how amazing. Did Taichi-kun really make this himself? Shizune was shocked. She hadn't expected Taichi to be so skilled, capable of making such complex dishes. She reached out and picked up a piece. The taste was truly wonderful, a deliciousness she had never imagined. How is it, Shizune? Isn't Taichi's cooking heavenly? Guy interjected at this point. Taichi glanced at Guy, seeing his eager look, and pushed his lunchbox forward. Here, you two try some too. Guy and Kakashi exchanged glances and didn't hesitate, each taking a piece of meat and eating it. Guy had eaten Taichi's cooking before. Kakashi, tasting it for the first time, immediately had the same expression as Shizune, looking at Taichi with a shocked face. The two who had tasted Taichi's food also shared their own food with him. Lunch lasted only 15 minutes, and Taichi had finished off Shizune's leftover sushi. The period until 1:30 p.m. was lunch break. However, Taichi wasn't idle. He picked up Basic Ninjutsu Theory from the desk and read it, while his hands continued to practice hand seals. Guy was sleeping soundly beside him, Kakashi had disappeared to who knows where, and Shizune slowly drifted off to sleep watching Taichi's movements. At 1:30 p.m., classes resumed with theory and ninja tool throwing. Theory class was as usual. Some slept, some snacked, some daydreamed. There were also those who studied diligently, such as Taichi Matsushita, Shizune, and Rin Nohara. Everyone arranged their time according to their needs, as this was the ninja world, and those who truly didn't study hard were risking their lives. After theory class came ninja tool throwing. After a few days of practice, everyone had clearly improved. At least, they could all hit the target. And those like Kakashi, Taichi, and Asuma consistently hit the bullseye. You performed ninja tool throwing practice, related comprehension improved. Your skill, ninja tool throwing, has improved, experience +1. You focused on ninja tool throwing practice, ninja apprentice, profession experience +1. Congratulations, your skill, ninja tool throwing, has leveled up to LV3, 0400s. Along with the skill upgrade, a long period of practicing ninja tool throwing insights integrated into every inch of Taichi's muscles. After a few days of practice, ninja tool throwing had also leveled up to LV3. Taichi picked up another kunai, flicked his wrist, and hit the bullseye, feeling even more relaxed than before. So he simultaneously picked up two kunai, gripping them with his index, middle, and ring fingers respectively, aimed at the target, and threw them. Thwack, thwack, two sounds rang out one after another. Both kunai hit the target. Although they weren't bullseyes, the difficulty had increased linearly. Guy watched in astonishment, and Kakashi also looked at Taichi with surprise. He knew that even he had practiced for a long time to reach Taichi's current level, but Taichi had only taken a few days. Taichi, do you have some trick? Shizune couldn't help but ask. What trick? I just kept practicing, and then suddenly I felt like I could do it. I tried it, and I didn't expect it to actually work, Taichi said, not without a hint of pride. The others all rolled their eyes at his words. At 5 p.m., the day's classes ended. Taichi bid farewell to Guy and the others, then hurried towards the orphanage. He wanted to ask Nono about any news from Tsunade today. Upon arriving at the orphanage, he saw everyone preparing dinner. Taichi stepped forward to help, which delighted the group of little kids. They cheered, exclaiming that they could finally eat food made by Big Brother Taichi again, and each of them worked even harder. Taichi suppressed his impatience and helped everyone cook. After everyone had finished eating and tidied up, Taichi pulled Nono into the office. Sister Nono, did you receive any news from Lady Tsunade today? Taichi asked directly. No, Nono wasn't in a hurry. After all, she had been through this for so long, she was more composed than Taichi. That shouldn't be. This verification is very quick. Why is there no news? Taichi wondered. However, thinking of Tsunade's personality and her recent state, Taichi became a little unsure. You think, Lady Tsunade wouldn't have forgotten, would she? Taichi, don't be so anxious. Perhaps Lady Tsunade was delayed by something else, Nono comforted him. You're right, I was too impatient. This kind of thing isn't something we can control. Now we can only wait for Lady Tsunade's reply. Taichi adjusted his mindset. Taichi then chatted with Nono about his daily life at school before leaving the orphanage. Before he left, Nono repeatedly comforted Taichi, telling him not to worry. Back home, Taichi habitually read the scroll. Today, he was going to practice the 3 basic jutsu. With so many days of groundwork, Taichi had reached a certain level in both chakra and basic knowledge. It was time for formal ninjutsu training, even if it was just the most basic 3 basic jutsu. First was the clone jutsu. Taichi stood still, feeling the chakra flowing within his body, then slowly formed the hand seals for the clone jutsu. Ram, snake, tiger, carefully observing the movement of chakra within his body with each hand seal. After trying it back and forth 7 or 8 times, feeling almost ready, Taichi suddenly sped up his hand seals, forming the 3 seals in an instant, and softly called out, Clone Jutsu. He felt the chakra in his body flow rapidly along a specific trajectory, then a significant portion of it was gone. Immediately, a puff of white smoke appeared, and a Taichi appeared beside him. Yay, successful on the first try. Taichi exclaimed excitedly. The system panel immediately gave a notification. Congratulations, you have learned Clone Jutsu LV1-0100. Taichi carefully observed the clone in front of him, finding many imperfections. The most obvious was that its height was significantly shorter than his actual body, which was a major flaw. Of course, this was just the beginning of his training. With continuous practice in the future, achieving a perfect likeness would be a certainty. Feeling the chakra in his body, he found that the consumption of the clone jutsu was quite small, so he then experimented with the transformation jutsu. Following the same process of familiarization and experimentation, then, ram, monkey, bird, dog, snake, a puff of white smoke appeared, and a might guy appeared on the spot. Similarly, with ram, boar, ox, dog, tiger, the pre-prepared substitution log transformed into Taichi's appearance, allowing Taichi himself to escape, which was the substitution jutsu. Indeed, Taichi thought to himself, he had a talent for ninjutsu. He learned all 3 basic jutsu on the first try. From now on, he just needed to practice regularly, and the quantity wouldn't be an issue. Feeling the chakra in his body again, he noticed that not much was consumed, and it was slowly recovering, so he decided to practice more. Name: Taichi Matsushita. Occupation: Ninja Apprentice LV2, 184 200ths. Talents: Diligence makes up for lack of talent, academic overachiever. Age: 6 years old. Constitution: 10. Strength: 11. Agility: 10. Spirit: 18. Chakra: 785, 4200. Attribute points: 5. Skill points: 5. Skills: Basic Taijutsu LV6, 465 1000ths. Basic Meditation LV6, 895 1000ths. Chakra Extraction Technique LV2, 145 200ths. Ninja Tool Throwing LV3, 35 400ths. Transformation Jutsu LV1, 15 100ths. Clone Jutsu LV1, 12 100ths. Substitution Jutsu LV1, 16 100ths. Evaluation: Having learned the 3 basic jutsu, you are already a standard cannon fodder on the battlefield. Looking at this somewhat simple panel, Taichi felt a surge of excitement, as if seeing himself gradually growing stronger. His whole body unconsciously surged with more power, supporting him to continue training. Time flowed like water, and a week passed in the blink of an eye. During this time, Taichi stopped thinking about Tsunade. He decided to let things take their natural course. After all, a prominent figure like Tsunade wasn't someone you could just meet whenever you wanted. Using the tactic of blocking her door once was enough. Doing it more often would only annoy her, especially since they weren't close. With his worries set aside, Taichi resumed his regular routine. He would go out for exercise at 5 a.m. every day, sometimes with Might Guy, sometimes with Kakashi, and sometimes all 3 of them would train together. Then, he'd return home to eat and get ready, heading to the Ninja Academy at 8 a.m. After school at 4 p.m., he'd meet up with Guy and Kakashi at the training grounds to expend any excess energy. If there was an opportunity, Shizune would sometimes join them, and occasionally, Rin Nohara and Obito Uchiha would also come along because of Kakashi. At 6:30 p.m., he'd return home for dinner and rest, followed by his evening self-training, which mainly consisted of practicing the 3-body technique, basic taijutsu, and basic meditation. Taichi's days were peaceful yet fulfilling. His training was relentless, monotonous, and persistent. This dedication reflected in his own progress. His current strength was a stark contrast to what it was a week ago. He now felt confident that he could easily defeat his past self from just a week prior. He could now skillfully use ninja tool throwing in combat, and even the 3-body technique could be employed when his opponents were caught off guard. His rapid progress surprised his friends on multiple occasions, and even teacher Yamada personally sparred with Taichi. Of course, after the spar, an inevitable report followed. Taichi's current status panel. Name: Taichi Matsushita. Occupation: Ninja Apprentice LV3, 324 400ths. Talents: Diligence makes up for lack of skill, academic ace. Age: 6 years old. Constitution: 11. Strength: 12. Agility: 11. Spirit: 19. Chakra: 2000, 4600. Attribute points: 6. Skill points: 6. Skills: Basic Taijutsu LV7, 537 1200ths. Basic Meditation LV7, 684 1200ths. Chakra Cultivation Technique LV6, 345 1000ths. Ninja Tool Throwing LV5, 463 800ths. Transformation Jutsu LV4, 13 600ths. Clone Jutsu LV4, 462 600ths. Substitution Jutsu LV4, 534 600ths. Evaluation: You are already a slightly bigger cannon fodder, but still destined to be cannon fodder. Taichi had grown accustomed to the panel's snarky remarks, completely ignoring them. What he cared about was the improvement in his various attributes and skills. Each time he looked at the panel, he felt that the road ahead was full of promise. Konoha Hospital, Office. Tsunade, who had skipped work for several days, finally remembered she had a job at Konoha Hospital. Uncharacteristically, she didn't slack off and arrived at her office. As soon as she sat down, she noticed a small bottle placed in the center of her desk. It was then that she recalled promising someone something. It seemed fate was helping Taichi. When he bottled the allicin, he had considered its storage and used a brown, light-proof bottle. Additionally, it was early spring, so the temperature wasn't very high yet. Otherwise, after such a long time, with the ordinary sealing of that small bottle, the allicin inside would have long since degraded and become ineffective. Tsunade picked up the small bottle, opened the stopper, and carefully sniffed it. After careful discernment, she still couldn't identify anything from the peculiar smell. She thought for a moment and then went to the laboratory. The hospital's lab conditions were much better than Taichi's home, with all sorts of equipment and samples readily available. Tsunade first disinfected herself, then took a common bacterial sample from the refrigerator and placed it under a microscope. She checked the bacterial activity. Good, no problem. Afterward, Tsunade carefully extracted some of the special medicine from the small bottle and dripped it onto the bacterial sample. Having completed these tasks, Tsunade leaned over the eyepiece, ready to observe the effects of this special medicine. Her eyes widened. What did she see? With just that one drop, all the bacteria in its path lost their activity in such a short time. Such potent efficacy. Tsunade found it hard to believe. Over the next few hours, Tsunade experimented with every bacterium she could find, ultimately concluding that this special medicine could kill most common bacteria and was exceptionally effective. This meant that if a special medicine based on this substance were successfully developed, not only in everyday life but also on the battlefield, the casualty rate among ninjas due to injuries and deaths would be reduced by at least half. It was important to remember that medical ninjas were a minority. Even in Konoha, despite her vigorous promotion, medical ninjas were severely lacking, to say nothing of other ninja villages where they were incredibly rare. Furthermore, medical ninjas' chakra was limited. On a tense battlefield, limited chakra could only be used on the most valuable injured, while most casualties would only receive simple treatment and conventional healing methods, which necessitated the use of medicine. The most common injuries on the battlefield were sword and knife wounds, and the most frequently used medicines were antibacterial and anti-inflammatory drugs. Currently, Konoha's existing drugs of this type were fine for minor injuries, but for slightly more severe wounds, they were practically useless. If this special medicine were available, it could save countless ninja lives on the battlefield, truly a blessing for Konoha. Thinking this, Tsunade immediately tidied up the laboratory, erased all previous traces, grabbed the remaining special medicine, and rushed to the Hokage's office. Hokage's office. Bang! The door burst open. Immediately, the three people in the room turned their gaze to the doorway, only to see Tsunade retracting her foot, rushing inside, and shouting, "Old man, look what good stuff I brought you." Well, Hokage-sama, we'll be heading back now, one of the Jonin said. Alright, Jonin Murata, Jonin Ikeshita, you may go back now, Hiruzen Sarutobi instructed the two Jonin. Watching the two Jonin leave the office, Hiruzen then said to Tsunade, "What is it? If you kick this door a few more times, I'll have to get another new one." Tsunade didn't answer, instead looking around. Seeing this, Hiruzen didn't hesitate and made a hand gesture. A rustling sound was heard all around. "You can speak now." Tsunade took out the small bottle and placed it on Hiruzen Sarutobi's desk. She first explained the matter of Nono and Taichi Matsushita to Hiruzen, then detailed her various tests and the prospects of this medicine. "You're saying this special medicine was discovered by a child named Taichi Matsushita?" "Yes. Why, old man, do you know him too?" Tsunade asked with a puzzled expression. "Indeed. I've heard his name frequently lately. He's a gifted newcomer in this year's Ninja Academy class. He might be another talent like Minato." "Oh, old man, you think so highly of him." Hiruzen looked at Tsunade but didn't respond. "Is it really as amazing as you say? Even this semi-finished product is at least 5 times more effective than similar existing medicines. If it's made into a finished product, it will only be even more potent. You said earlier that they want to cooperate with the village under the names of both the orphanage and the child, correct?" Hiruzen asked again. "Yes. Before coming, I reviewed the orphanage's records," Tsunade said, looking at Hiruzen with a serious expression. "For the past 2 years, the village hasn't provided much financial support to the orphanage. They've barely been getting by on the mission fees earned by the director, Yakushi Nono. Alas, I am an incompetent Hokage. Hiruzen said with a look of shame. Tsunade, seeing Hiruzen's self-reproaching expression, was long accustomed to it. If her teacher had been like her great-grandfather and great-granduncle, there would have been none of the troubles Danzo caused. So, how do you propose we cooperate? Tsunade asked impatiently. How about this? Give them a sum of money plus shares. The money can be a generous amount, let's set it at 20 million ryo. The shares shouldn't be too much, they wouldn't be able to hold onto too many at their current stage. Tsunade saw that her teacher's arrangement was quite reasonable, so she said no more, turned, and threw out, I'll go inform them, before leaving. In the office, Hiruzen picked up the small bottle on the desk and gazed at it in thought, unconsciously recalling the scenes he had observed in the school through the telescope jutsu during this period. What a good child. Tsunade, having left, found Yakushi Nono at the orphanage. When she delivered the news, Nono also breathed a sigh of relief, looking very happy. After all, it had been a long time, and she had begun to worry whether the matter would succeed. After the two settled the orphanage's affairs, they headed to Taichi's house. Konoha training ground. On the field, two figures darted back and forth, exchanging powerful punches and kicks, each move filled with immense force and weight. The two fighting were Tai and Might Guy. Ever since they started sparring, they had a daily match. Their combat experience grew day by day. Today's battle was different from before. Tai threw 3 shurikens in a triangular formation towards Guy, while simultaneously charging at him, following the shurikens. Guy remained calm, sidestepping to dodge 2 shurikens, and at the same time, used his kunai to deflect the third. Just then, Tai rushed forward, kunai in hand. The two simultaneously thrust their kunai, and a continuous clink-clank of colliding kunai echoed. After another exchange, seeing that neither could gain an advantage, they decisively abandoned their kunai and engaged in close-quarters combat. This time, it was a flurry of punches and kicks. Tai seized an opening and executed an over-the-shoulder throw, sending Guy flying a considerable distance. While Guy was still in the air with his back to him, Tai quickly formed hand signs. Ram, snake, tiger. With a bang, 2 more Tai's appeared on the field. The 3 Tai's formed a triangle and charged towards Guy, who had just landed. Guy couldn't distinguish which Tai was real and could only block the incoming attacks one by one. The first block met empty air, that Tai was a clone. Guy quickly changed his move to block the second Tai, but again, he hit nothing. By then, it was too late to change his move again, and he was hit squarely on the shoulder with a punch. Tai seized the opportunity, launching a barrage of attacks, and finally knocked Guy to the ground with a flying kick. Tai stepped forward, pulled Guy to his feet, and asked, how are you? Are you okay? Haha, I'm fine. Tai, you've improved again. I'm almost no match for you now. You were just caught off guard by my first use of the clone jutsu. It won't fool you again next time. Ah, haha. Guy didn't argue, just scratched his head and chuckled. Tai was improving, and so was he. Let's stop here for today. It's time to go back. Okay, see you tomorrow, Tai. The two said goodbye. At home, Tai, dragging his tired body, saw Tsunade and Nono standing at the door and immediately smiled. I'm sorry. I'm late. I kept you both waiting. He quickly opened the door and invited them in. Tsunade glanced at Tai's disheveled appearance and said, you're quite diligent, kid. Nono stepped forward and helped Tai straighten his clothes. I have to be diligent. Everyone in my class is a genius. I can't fall behind. Remembering Sensei Sarutobi's evaluation of Tai today, Tsunade smiled and said, you're quite humble. Alright, I won't say much more. I think you can guess why I'm here today, Tsunade said. Yes, Lady Tsunade, I just don't know how the village intends to cooperate, Tai said frankly. Since Tsunade was here, it meant the item had been verified, and she was here to discuss cooperation. Otherwise, whether they had deciphered the medicine's effects or used some other underhanded means, it wouldn't be Tsunade coming to talk. Tsunade didn't hesitate and clearly explained the conditions that Hiruzen Sarutobi had agreed upon. Tai and Nono were both surprised after hearing it. It wasn't that it wasn't good, it was too good. At the time, fearing the village would drive down the price, they had deliberately set high demands. Now, although the shares were reduced, they were given a large sum of cash, which was truly excellent. This would solve their most pressing financial problem, for both the orphanage and Taiyi's own training. Neither of them was a petty person, so they immediately agreed to the village's proposal. Tsunade was very happy to see them agree so readily. She admired their decisive way of doing things. She immediately signed the relevant agreement on behalf of the village with the three of them. Since everything is settled, shouldn't you tell me the recipe for this medicine? Tsunade asked. Taiyi didn't stand on ceremony. He turned and went to his study, retrieved a prepared list, which clearly detailed the preparation method and important considerations. Tsunade took the list, and after only reading the beginning, she exclaimed in surprise, "You mean this is made from garlic?" "Yes," Taiyi said with an innocent expression. No, standing by, gave a wry smile. She knew how many miscellaneous ingredients Taiyi had added to mask the garlic smell. Tsunade thought of the smell of the substance and immediately wore a strange expression. "You put a lot of thought into this," Tsunade said, with a hint of meaning. Taiyi just smiled and said nothing. Such matters were not suitable for open discussion. Everyone understood without needing to say it, as he couldn't very well say he didn't trust the village. "Oh, right, Lady Tsunade," Taiyi changed the subject, "it's been over a week now. Why did it take so long? Logically, verification shouldn't take this long, should it? Did the village discussions cause a delay?" Now it was Tsunade's turn to be embarrassed. Could she say she had forgotten? Even more infuriating was that the village hadn't delayed at all. Old man Sarutobi had approved it directly upon hearing her report. Well, there were too many tests to conduct. After all, it's medicine, so it can't be approved that easily, Tsunade said, making a weak excuse. That's true, Taiyi didn't suspect anything else. To ease the awkwardness, Tsunade stood up, preparing to leave. How could Taiyi let Tsunade leave so easily? This was such a rare opportunity to strengthen their relationship, especially since he was also an excellent cook. "Lady Tsunade, it's already this late. I just saw you and Sister Nono waiting at the door for so long, you must not have eaten yet. Please stay and try my cooking." "Yes, Lady Tsunade has helped us so much. Please stay and let us show our appreciation," Nono chimed in, understanding Taiyi's intention. This, all right. Seeing their enthusiasm, Tsunade no longer refused. "Sister Nono, please entertain Lady Tsunade. I'll go to the kitchen to cook." Taiyi was busy in the kitchen. Fortunately, he had done a big grocery run yesterday, so the house was fully stocked with ingredients, otherwise, it would have been truly impolite today. Listening to the occasional laughter from the living room, Taiyi's hands never stopped. Frying, deep frying, stir frying, various kitchen utensils flew around, and his cooking speed was incredibly fast. He wondered what they were laughing about. Taiyi, of course, didn't know that Nono was currently telling Tsunade embarrassing stories from his childhood. Otherwise, he would have wanted to crawl into a hole. In less than an hour, 5 dishes and 1 soup were dazzlingly served. Looking at the food on the table, Tsunade was truly surprised. Regardless of the taste, just the presentation and aroma were exceptional. The three sat down, each saying, "Let's eat," and began their meal. They didn't know until they ate, and once they did, they were shocked. The taste was indeed exceptional. Tsunade felt that everything she had eaten in her life before this was garbage. How would she manage from now on? After the meal. "Lady Tsunade, were you satisfied with today's hospitality? Why call me Lady Tsunade? You call Nono, sister, so call me, sister, too," Tsunade said imperiously, waving her small hand. Well, a single meal changed the form of address. Taiyi, of course, was delighted. He immediately seized the opportunity and called out, "Sister Tsunade. All right, it's getting late, and I need to head back. In that case, Sister Tsunade, please take care and be careful on your way." Taiyi and Nono watched Tsunade's retreating figure disappear at the end of the road before turning and going back inside. Back in the house, Taiyi could no longer contain his excitement and hugged Nono, spinning her around wildly. Nono allowed Taiyi to be boisterous, as she, too, was very happy. From now on, the orphanage would no longer have to worry about funding issues. The two then discussed future plans for a while, and Nono also got up to leave. After all, there was still a pile of things waiting for her to handle back at the orphanage. Once Tai was alone in the house, he calmed down. He thought about future developments. Now that he had money, he could be bolder in his training and start buying some medicinal aids for cultivation. Also, establishing a good relationship with Tsunade today would bring many benefits for both his work and training in the future. After thinking all this, Tai resumed his routine training. A day without practicing music makes the mouth rusty. A day without practicing boxing makes the hands rusty. Cultivation was like sailing against the current. If you didn't advance, you would fall back. Ninja Academy, classroom. The moment Taichi entered the classroom, he heard Obito provoking Kakashi. Kakashi, today in our sparring match, I'm going to beat you to a pulp and show you how amazing Lord Obito, the Lord who's always late. Kakashi didn't humor Obito, immediately seizing on his flaw and relentlessly attacking. I can't wait anymore. Come on, Kakashi, let's start now. Obito was already getting hysterical. Rin Nohara quickly tried to stop Obito. Idiot. Kakashi scoffed again. Can you two please be quiet? You always argue shortly after seeing each other, Rin said, exasperated. Obito was still very obedient to Rin. Seeing that she was truly angry, he quickly gave up on Kakashi and turned to coax Rin instead. Taichi walked over to Shizun's side, looked at the three lively characters, and asked, Shizun, what's going on over there? When Shizun saw Taichi approaching, her ears immediately turned red. Hearing Taichi's question, she replied, earlier, Teacher Yamada came to announce that we'll be having practical combat training today and that everyone will be ranked. Then Obito and Kakashi started arguing about who's stronger. Taichi's face darkened when he heard this. These two really could argue about anything. At this moment, Might Guy also saw Taichi and Shizun chatting and walked over. Taichi, are you nervous about today's sparring? I feel my youthful passion burning. How could I be, Guy? Aren't we sparring every day? No, Taichi, this is a chance to show ourselves. I want to display the results of my training to everyone and let them know I'm not a dead last. It turned out that because Guy was the last to be admitted, he was often mocked by his classmates. Taichi had thought Guy, being so boisterous, wouldn't care, but it seemed he still harbored some resentment in his heart. I see. Well then, Guy, you must do your best. I'll support you. For someone who works hard, all you need to do is give them support. I knew it, Taichi, you understand me best. Sure enough, Guy's tears flowed like a fountain. After a few classes, it was time for the afternoon's practical combat exercise. Teacher Yamada led everyone to the training ground. Next, the students whose names I call will come up to spar. The rest of you will observe from the sidelines. Takashita Hata, Sarutobi Asuma. The first match was the Hokage's son. Asuma usually acted like he was second only to heaven, so he had less interaction with Taichi and the others. Today, however, Taichi could observe his skill level. The two stepped onto the field and formed the seal of confrontation. With teacher Yamada's cry of, begin, Asuma immediately charged towards Takashita. His speed alone surpassed most of the students in the class. Takashita was so intimidated by Asuma's aura that he froze for a moment, and by the time he reacted, it was already a bit late. Asuma closed in with a powerful straight punch, heavy and forceful, shattering Takashita's defense with a single blow. He then followed up without hesitation, delivering a combo that knocked Takashita to the ground. Asuma wins, Teacher Yamada promptly announced. The two stood, formed the seal of reconciliation, and exited the field. Asuma's skill level is very high, his fundamentals are particularly solid, Taichi said, turning to Guy. He's a formidable opponent. Youth is all about such competition. Second match, Uchiha Obito, Hitaki Kakashi. Taichi hadn't expected this pair to meet so early. This was going to be interesting. Watching Obito and Kakashi step onto the field, Obito started provoking before the match even began. Rin, in the audience, slapped her forehead, utterly speechless. Form the seal of confrontation. Teacher Yamada, acting as referee, couldn't stand it anymore and urged them on. The two formed the seal of confrontation, and the battle began. Kakashi against Obito. To Taichi's surprise, in the first half, the two actually exchanged blows, countering each other's moves with considerable skill. Taichi felt he needed to re-evaluate his classmates. He couldn't underestimate anyone just because he knew the original story. Taichi knew Kakashi's skill level, as they had sparred many times. That Obito could fight Kakashi to such a degree truly surprised Taichi. Their exciting duel also drew cheers from the classmates on the sidelines, but compared to Obito, Kakashi was undoubtedly more popular, especially among the girls in the class. Hearing the girls in the class cheering for Kakashi, Obito's Sharingan almost activated from envy and jealousy. Taichi could feel his indignation even from a distance. This made Obito's attacks increasingly frantic and disorganized. As a result, Kakashi seized an opportunity and knocked him down with a combo. Hitaki Kakashi wins. Obito stood up, reluctantly forming the seal of reconciliation. Third match, Matsushita Taichi, Hyuga Yuchu. Hearing his name, Taichi stepped onto the field. Looking at Hyuga Yuchu approaching from the opposite side, Taichi was eager to see what the Hyuga clan's gentle fist was like. The two formed the seal of confrontation, and the battle began. Hyuga took an opening stance. Seeing that he wouldn't attack first, Taichi rushed forward. He raised his hand and delivered a straight punch. Hyuga blocked it with a parrying hand. Taichi then smoothly spun and delivered an elbow strike. Seeing Hyuga leap back, he followed with a high kick to the head. This left Hyuga no room to retreat, so he could only raise his hand to block. Thud. Hyuga hadn't expected Taichi's kick to be so heavy. His single hand couldn't block it, and his hand hit his own head. He was kicked sideways, staggering a few steps before regaining his balance. Taichi seized the opportunity, pressing forward with successive attacks, but the Hyuga clan's gentle fist was not to be underestimated, and Hyuga slowly stabilized the situation. The first phase of their confrontation ended, and both retreated, catching their breath. Hyuga Yuchu regulated his breathing and launched an attack first. He struck an opening pose, which Taichi found strange, but teacher Yamada, observing the match, became alert because he recognized it as the opening stance for the Hyuga clan's 8 trigrams palms. He hadn't expected this generation of students to be so talented. Taichi, seeing Hyuga Yuchu charging quickly, had already heightened his vigilance. Midway, he heard the opponent shout, 8 trigrams 32 palms, and dared not be negligent, concentrating all his focus. Hyuga Yuchu, already very fast, doubled his speed the moment he unleashed his palms, almost leaving afterimages. At this moment, Taichi's talent, scholar began to play its role. 10x concentration, thought processing speed increased by 100%. This talent, originally for studying, was just as effective in combat. The world in Taichi's eyes slowed down. Hyuga Yuchu's movements were all clearly visible. Although his movements were still difficult to keep up with, blocking and parrying became easier. To outsiders, both their movements were so fast they left afterimages. When Hyuga Yuchu delivered his final palm strike, he knew he had lost. Sure enough, after the opponent's last palm, Taichi seized the moment of their breath recovery and decisively struck, landing a punch squarely on the abdomen. Matsushita Taichi wins, teacher Yamada announced. Thankfully, there were no problems. In that situation just now, even he might not have had time to intervene. The two formed the seal of reconciliation and left the field. At the same time, a certain Hokage, who was secretly watching with a crystal ball, also let out a sigh of relief. Hiruzen Sarutobi, who had watched the entire match, was surprised that Hyuga Yuchu, so young, could already perform the 32 palms. He was equally surprised that Matsushita Taichi could completely block the technique and even counterattack. Truly, he was the child Hiruzen had his eye on. Fourth match, Nohara Rin, Shizune. Alright, that's all for today's sparring. The rankings will be posted on the bulletin board tomorrow. That's all for today. Class dismissed. With that announcement, today's class is concluded. Students left the school in 2s and 3s. As usual, Taichi, Guy, and Kakashi walked together to the small forest to expend their remaining energy. Obito, Rin, and Shizune joined them along the way. The group marched grandly towards the small forest. Night, Root headquarters. Danzo, the leader of Root, still in his prime, looked at the document in his hand. It contained the combat results from the Ninja Academy today. He's from an orphanage, both parents were ninjas who died in battle, no bloodline limit. His outstanding qualities are excellent learning ability and nerve reaction speed. The root ninja responsible for scouting talented students at the Ninja Academy bowed and replied, "Yes, Lord Danzo. This Matsushita Taichi has a very strong learning ability. Whether it's ninjutsu, taijutsu, or theoretical courses, he's always at the top of his class, even first place is not an exaggeration. His taijutsu isn't particularly outstanding yet, but his exceptional reaction speed always allows him to turn the tide of battle. Furthermore, he possesses an extremely excellent quality, and that is self-discipline. His self-discipline even surpasses most adult ninjas, so this subordinate believes that such a person is worthy of being absorbed and cultivated by Root. Self-discipline, huh? That is indeed a quality well suited for Root. Coupled with his other advantages, he is certainly worth cultivating, Danzo said. Keep a close eye on this Matsushita Taichi. Yes. At the Ninja Academy, by the bulletin board. Everyone arrived early at the bulletin board, eager to see the results of yesterday's spar. Taichi also came to the bulletin board, but before he could even look for himself, an excited Might Guy blurted out his score. Taichi, congratulations. You're in 4th place. Oh, what about you, Guy? And who got 1st place? Hee hee. Guy said, scratching his head with an embarrassed smile, I'm in 3rd place. 1st place is Kakashi, and 2nd place is Asuma. As expected, Kakashi truly is the best of his class at this stage. But Guy, in a pure taijutsu match, you weren't even 2nd. Ah, Asuma must be stronger. He is the Hokage's son, after all. As they spoke, everyone headed to the classroom, waiting for Teacher Yamada to arrive. They didn't have to wait long. Teacher Yamada walked into the classroom, and everyone quieted down. I imagine you've all seen your scores. Overall, everyone performed well and demonstrated their true abilities. This spar allowed everyone to understand their standing in the class. Those with high ranks should maintain it, and those with lower ranks should redouble their efforts. Just as Teacher Yamada was about to launch into a long speech, a report interrupted him. Everyone in the class turned to look, only to see Obito standing at the door, looking flustered. I'm sorry, sensei. On my way to school, I saw an old lady who had fallen. I helped her home and then rushed to school, which is why I'm late. You kai ha obai too. A roar echoed from the classroom into the distance, probably heard throughout the entire school. Last time it was catching a cat, the time before that it was helping a child find their mother, the time before that it was finding a cane for an old man, and I won't even mention the times before that. Teacher Yamada continued to roar. In these first few days of school, which day haven't you been late? I'm sorry, sensei. Obito knew he was indeed outrageous, but he couldn't help but want to help whenever he saw someone in trouble. It was truly difficult for him to control. Perhaps this is why Obito, when he didn't have his Sharingan, was fine, but once he awakened it, he immediately soared to the Mangekyo. The deepest love brews the strongest power. Go back to your seat. Teacher Yamada calmed himself down. He knew that everything Obito said was true. He had even secretly followed Obito because of this, and found that he genuinely was helping others. It was just this daily habit of being late that was truly infuriating. Next, today we will practice the 3-body technique. Yamada, who had a lot more to say, no longer felt like speaking. He quickly assigned tasks and let everyone practice independently. The 3-body technique had been taught before, but at this stage, everyone's skill level was limited. Firstly, their ninjutsu proficiency wasn't high enough, and secondly, they didn't have enough chakra. Even though the 3-body technique consumes very little chakra, it was still too much for first-year students to use more than a few times, let alone practice many times. So, the school arranged time for the children to practice as much as possible at school. Of course, this didn't include people like Taichi and Kakashi. Some of them had already learned through family traditions, and Taichi's current chakra, even in its normal state, had reached the level of a low-tier genin. Moreover, he had already self-taught the 3-body technique before the school even taught it. A peaceful day passed. Today, Taichi didn't train with his friends, but instead came alone to the riverside. Today, he was going to try and learn other ninjutsu from the scrolls left by his parents. First, he still felt the flow of chakra within his body, then slowly formed hand signs, recalling the descriptions in his father's notes within the scroll, and feeling a ball of flame burning in his chest. Snake, ram, monkey, Boar, horse, tiger. When the last tiger hand sign was completed, the flame in his chest erupted from his mouth. This was fire release, fireball jutsu. However, on his first attempt, only a small flicker of flame emerged. Taichi's forehead was covered in black lines, it was too disheartening. He was wallowing in self-pity, unaware that being able to produce even a small flame on his first try was already impressive to many. Of course, the system wouldn't lie. Congratulations, you have learned fire release, fireball jutsu LV-10100s. Congratulations, you have learned fire release nature transformation LV-10100s. You practiced fire release, fireball jutsu, experience +1, fire release nature transformation +1. You focused on practicing fire release, fireball jutsu, ninja apprentice profession experience +1. Looking at the panel, it turned out he had learned it, but the power was just too small. Now, it was time for continuous practice. For a while, small flames occasionally erupted by the river, but the flames slowly grew larger and flew further and further, until Taichi's chakra was almost depleted, and his fireball jutsu could finally be considered a true fireball jutsu. He had learned this ninjutsu, but it was just learned, it was still a long, long way from being truly usable in actual combat. Feeling the remaining chakra in his body, it wasn't enough for him to do anything else. Taichi sat by the river to rest, picked up the rice balls he had prepared earlier, and began to eat, thinking about his next plan. Today he would learn fireball jutsu, tomorrow phoenix flower jutsu, and the day after great breakthrough, striving to learn all three ninjutsu left by his parents in these few days. This way, he would no longer be a blank slate ninja. As for medical ninjutsu, that was too profound and could only be learned slowly. Fortunately, he had no to consult for medical ninjutsu. After resting, Taichi began practicing basic taijutsu again. You practiced basic taijutsu, related insights improved. Your skill basic taijutsu has improved, experience +1. You focused on practicing basic taijutsu, ninja apprentice profession experience +1. Congratulations, your constitution +1, strength +1, agility +1. Congratulations, your ninja apprentice profession level has increased. Attribute point +1, skill point +1. Today was a lucky day. Not only did his physical attributes increase, but his profession level also went up. Looking at the changed panel again, Taichi couldn't help but fall into contemplation. Name: Matsushita Taichi. Profession: Ninja Apprentice LV-4-1600. Talents: diligence can compensate for lack of talent, straight A student. Age: 6 years old. Constitution: 12. Strength: 13. Agility: 12. Spirit: 19. Chakra: 365, 4800. Attribute points: 7. Skill points: 7. Fire release nature transformation LV-1-5-100s. Skills: Basic Taijutsu LV-7, 753 1200s. Basic Meditation LV-7, 965 1200s. Chakra Cultivation Technique LV-7, 142 1200s. Ninja Tool Throwing LV-5, 697 800s. Transformation Jutsu LV-4, 435 600s. Clone Jutsu LV-5, 364 800s. Substitution Jutsu LV-5, 425 800s. Fire Release. Fireball Jutsu LV-121 100s. Evaluation. A slowly growing cannon fodder, still cannon fodder. Looking at the comparison of experience gained for nature transformation and fireball jutsu, it wasn't hard to guess how difficult nature transformation was to train. Those 5 points were probably just the insights gained from recently learning fire release. It seemed that to make rapid progress, he still needed a reliable teacher. Without someone to consult, self-learning would be too difficult. Fortunately, Taichi knew that this was just the beginning stage, and there was still a lot of room for improvement. Moreover, he had the system panel, so as long as he practiced, he would continuously improve and wouldn't encounter bottlenecks. It was just that progress might slow down later. He would find a way after he had learned everything he could currently learn. After the taijutsu training, it was time for basic meditation. The spot Taichi chose was quiet and serene, making it an excellent place for meditation. As he would need to practice more ninjutsu in the future, training at home was no longer convenient. That's why Tai Chi found this place, far from human habitation, with a small river nearby, definitely a good spot for private practice. You practiced basic meditation, related insights improved. Your skill basic meditation has improved, experience +1. Your skill chakra cultivation technique has improved, experience +1. You focused on practicing basic meditation, ninja apprentice profession experience +1. Looking at this prompt, practicing basic meditation also improved chakra cultivation technique. Thinking about it, it made sense. Practicing chakra cultivation technique did seem to have a hint of meditation. No wonder these two skills had improved relatively quickly recently. It turned out there was a synergistic effect between them. Viewed this way, many skills were interconnected. The simplest example was that practicing fire release ninjutsu would inevitably also train and improve fire release nature transformation. Basic taijutsu practice similarly provided a bonus to ninja tool throwing, and even to a series of taijutsu that would be learned in the future. This perspective seemed more realistic. After all, whether it's the human body or what a person learns, it's all a complete system. Improvements in one area will drive related areas to improve together. It's not like a machine where the enhancement of one part is merely the enhancement of that part itself. With these thoughts, Tai Chi completed his day of training and went to bed to rest. Life is like a small river, sometimes turbulent, sometimes calm, but no matter what, it always flows forward. 3 months passed in a flash, and Tai Chi's life during this time was peaceful and fulfilling, with his schedule packed to the brim every day. When school was on break, he would also invite his friends out for picnics and outings. It's worth mentioning that after a few months of study, Tai Chi not only learned fire style, phoenix flower jutsu and wind style, great breakthrough, but with the help of No and Tsunade, he also began to learn medical ninjutsu knowledge and mastered his first medical ninjutsu, the healing jutsu. This unlocked wind release nature transformation and yang release nature transformation. Speaking of Tsunade, she was quite a surprise to Tai Chi. Ever since Tai Chi invited Tsunade for a meal he cooked himself, under the pretense of thanking her, Tsunade would frequently drop by Tai Chi's house to freeload meals, sometimes even bringing Shizune along. She didn't demand that he cook a special meal for her, she would eat whatever Tai Chi ate, claiming it was to ensure the safety of her partner, fearing that someone might cause trouble for Tai Chi because of the shares. Although that sounded somewhat reasonable, how should one put it, it was clearly just freeloading. However, this was indeed a good thing for Tai Chi. Tsunade was, after all, one of the Sanin, the Hokage's disciple, and the first Hokage's granddaughter. She was one of the most prominent figures in Konoha. With such a powerful backer, Tai Chi would feel confident in whatever he did, not to mention that Tsunade herself was a treasure trove of knowledge and power. Currently, Tai Chi's various abilities were also vastly different from before. Name: Matsushita Tai Chi. Occupation: Ninja Apprentice LV6, 547 1000ths. Talent: Diligence, Academic Ace. Age: 6 years old. Constitution: 13. Strength: 15. Agility: 13. Spirit: 20. Chakra: 3000 5350. Attribute points: 9. Skill points: 9. Fire Release Nature Transformation LV2, 64 200ths. Wind Release Nature Transformation LV2, 35 200ths. Yang Release Nature Transformation LV2, 12 200ths. Skills: Basic Taijutsu LV8 1053 1400 Basic Meditation LV8 1148 1400 Chakra Cultivation Jutsu LV8 1186 1400 Ninja Tool Throwing LV7 647 1200 Transformation Jutsu LV6 515 1000 Clone Jutsu LV7 537 1200 Substitution Jutsu LV6 853 1000 Fire Style Fireball Jutsu LV6 256 1000ths Fire Style. Phoenix Flower Jutsu LV6 836 1000ths Wind Style. Great Breakthrough LV6 648 1000ths Healing Jutsu LV6 873 1000ths. Evaluation: You are no less capable than some experienced genin. After these 4 months of comparison, especially after getting to know Tsunade, Taichi gained a thorough understanding of the strength of various ninja ranks. He no longer had to rely solely on his own guesses, which allowed him to more accurately compare his own strength, stats, and ninja rank. First, let's talk about body attributes. The average value for each attribute in a normal person is 10 points. Each additional attribute point is not a linear increase, it's approximately a 1.1 times improvement under the current physical conditions. Taking strength as an example, a punch with 10 points of strength is about 100 kilograms, so a punch with 11 points of strength would be 110 kilograms, 12 points would be 121 kilograms, and 13 points would be 133 kilograms. This means that the further along one goes, the greater the increase in each attribute point. And the attribute points Taichi saved would become more valuable the further along he went. Of course, each attribute is a comprehensive overall quality and cannot be compared solely from one aspect. For typical Chunin and Genin, the attribute requirements are only for strength and agility. As long as these two attributes meet the standard, one's physical condition is considered qualified. To become a Jonin, it's not just about strength and agility. A normal Jonin must have at least one of their constitution or spirit attributes at 20 points. This is the true worth of a Jonin. It's also why there are so many Chunin and Genin, but the number of Jonin drops drastically. Every Jonin is a valuable asset to the village. Compared to the straightforward attribute points, chakra growth is more complex, and Taichi hasn't yet figured out its growth formula. It can only be said that increases in the constitution and spirit attributes play a decisive role in chakra volume growth, while strength and agility have a relatively smaller impact on chakra volume growth. After all, chakra is originally formed by the fusion of physical energy and spiritual energy. But Taichi can be certain that Kekkei Genkei definitely have a bonus effect on a ninja's chakra volume, otherwise, how could the chakra of ninjas like Hashirama Senju be comparable to, or even exceed, that of a tailed beast? For Taichi, one value displayed on his panel is his current chakra within his body. The upper limit of this part depends on the cultivation of chakra cultivation jutsu and the limit of his constitution attributes endurance. The value in parentheses is the maximum safe amount of chakra he can autonomously extract each day, which is a comprehensive reflection of his various body attributes. Of course, chakra that naturally recovers slowly is not included in this. Currently, the maximum chakra Taichi can store is 3,000 points, which already exceeds the Genin minimum standard of 2,000 points, and his maximum daily chakra extraction is 5,350 points. This is absolutely excellent for students his age. Next are skills. For Taichi, the most important ones are basic taijutsu and basic meditation. These two special skills, as they can enhance Taichi's body attributes, and the level of basic taijutsu further reflects Taichi's taijutsu combat power. From what he understands now, basic taijutsu LV 1-5 is considered laying the foundation, LV 6-8 is the combat power standard for Genin, and LV 9-10 is the combat power for Chunin. For other ninjutsu skills, generally, the higher the level, the higher the proficiency, the faster the casting speed, and the lower the consumption. The power of ninjutsu, in addition to depending on the basic power of the jutsu, is determined by the level of chakra nature transformation. This is the main reason why the same ninjutsu, when performed by different ninjas, shows such a huge difference. Overall, Taichi's current comprehensive ability is absolutely fine for a Genin. What he currently lacks is theoretical accumulation and practical combat experience. After all, these things require time to accumulate, having a panel alone isn't enough. Thinking of this, Taichi couldn't help but think of a ninjutsu, the shadow clone jutsu, and even the multiple shadow clone jutsu. Compared to other clone jutsus, the greatest feature of the shadow clone is that it can return memories to the main body upon dissipation. This incredible function led to Naruto Uzumaki's cheat-like learning ability in the future. But what saddened Taichi was that when he asked Nono, and even Tsunade, about this ninjutsu, they all refused him, citing that Taichi was too young and learning this ninjutsu was too dangerous. Forget multiple shadow clones, they didn't even teach him the shadow clone jutsu. Although they genuinely had his best interests at heart, this still made Taichi very frustrated. Without the enhancement of the Shadow Clone Jutsu, Taichi could only rely on his own slow learning and training. Ninja Academy, Training Grounds. It was another practical sparring lesson, and Taichi and Might Guy were in the arena. Their taijutsu skills now far surpassed those of a genin, and even their jonin teacher, Yamada-sensei, had to pay close attention when they sparred to prevent any accidents. Taichi, you've grown stronger. But I won't fall behind at all. Might Guy felt the pressure, but it only made him more fired up. His punches and kicks grew stronger and faster with each movement. Bang, bang, bang. The sounds of fists and feet colliding were incessant. The two went back and forth, locked in a fierce, evenly matched battle. The students watching cheered them on, but it was interesting to note that most of the girls cheered for Taichi, while most of the boys cheered for Guy. Kakashi, also watching, keenly noticed that Matsushita Taichi's strength had significantly improved. He knew Taichi's ninjutsu level was quite good, especially his Phoenix Flower Jutsu, which he had mastered to an impressive degree. Now, without using ninjutsu, just his taijutsu alone was on par with Guy's, which showed how formidable his true strength was. Yamada-sensei also nodded in approval as he watched the match. Not just Taichi, but there were many excellent ninja in this generation. However, it was a pity for Might Guy. His taijutsu talent was so good, but his ninjutsu talent was very poor. After dozens more rounds, the two entangled fighters simultaneously pulled back their fists and separated. Matsushita Taichi and Might Guy both knelt on one knee, drenched in sweat, their heavy breathing audible even from the sidelines. Neither of them had any strength left to fight. Matsushita Taichi, Might Guy, draw. Yamada-sensei announced. After the two regulated their breathing and performed the reconciliation hand sign, Yamada-sensei continued to announce, next up, Hitaki Kakashi, Uchiha Obito. Upon hearing their names, the two exchanged glances. Kakashi maintained his usual aloof demeanor, slowly walking into the arena. Uchiha Obito, however, turned to Rin and said, Rin, watch me take down that annoying Kakashi. This left Nohara Rin looking rather helpless. In the arena, Kakashi, this time you're definitely going to lose to my fists. If you weren't always late, I'd believe you, Kakashi said indifferently. Uchiha Obito immediately started gritting his teeth. Arrogant Kakashi, you just wait. As soon as the two formed the confrontation hand sign, Obito eagerly charged forward, and a fierce clash began, no less intense than Taichi and Guy's battle just moments before. Meanwhile, the surrounding girls uniformly cheered for Kakashi. This only made Obito in the arena even more furious, and his attacks became sharper. Taichi was completely focused, his gaze fixed on the two fighters. He wasn't the only one improving, everyone was making progress, even Obito, whose improvement was also significant. After more than 20 exchanges, Kakashi seized an opportunity and kicked Obito away. Obito adjusted his posture in midair, then rolled a few times upon landing to absorb the impact, before leaping back up and charging forward again with a kunai in hand. Kakashi also drew his kunai, and amidst the clanging sounds of kunai colliding, sparks flew at the point of their clash. It seems Kakashi is already learning kenjutsu. Taichi saw the shadow of sword techniques in Kakashi's moves, a clear difference from their previous fights. After all, Kakashi had a father who was a master swordsman, known as the White Fang of Konoha. Thinking about it, Taichi wondered if he should also learn kenjutsu. After all, compared to close combat weapons like kunai, Taichi himself preferred swords. After another dozen or so rounds, Obito, who was once again at a disadvantage, suddenly retreated rapidly. After putting some distance between them, he began forming hand signs, puffed out his cheeks, and then unleashed a torrent of flames from his mouth. Fire style. Great Fireball Jutsu, which was considered a standard jutsu of the Uchiha clan. Taichi was also surprised to see this, it was his first time seeing Obito use ninjutsu. But he quickly understood. Even though Obito lived only with his grandmother, he was still a member of a prominent clan. His family had its own standard ninja training system, unlike commoner ninja who had to fight desperately for a single jutsu. At this moment, Kakashi, too, was unfazed. He also formed hand signs, slammed his hands onto the ground, causing the earth to surge, and then a mud wall rose from the ground. It was earth style. Earth wall. Boom. The spherical flames impacted the earth wall, then sprayed outwards, causing many of the observing students to step back. TCH. His carefully prepared ninjutsu failed to achieve its goal, and Obito pouted unwillingly, then charged forward again. This is the gap. Although there were many talented individuals in this generation, the gap between people was still huge. In Taichi's class alone, some, like Kakashi and Obito, had mastered several ninjutsu, while some commoner ninjas still couldn't even use the 3 basic jutsu proficiently. Taichi couldn't help but sigh inwardly. The Kakashi of the past had clearly not used his full strength when fighting them, only relying on taijutsu. Judging by the proficiency of his jutsu, this earth style was clearly not something he had just learned. One can see their own efforts, but not necessarily others' efforts, yet that doesn't mean they don't exist. Given Kakashi's background, he most likely started training at 3 or 4 years old. However, Taichi wouldn't underestimate himself. With the system panel, as long as he worked hard, taking one step at a time, he wouldn't be inferior to anyone. Hadn't he already caught up now? After another dozen rounds, Kakashi used a clone to deceive the reckless Obito, then kicked him away. Before Obito could get up, Kakashi held a kunai to his eyes. Obito was unwilling and resentful, but he could only lower his head and admit defeat. Yamada-sensei, watching their battle from the side, was also filled with emotion. Kakashi is the son of the White Fang of Konoha. He is naturally talented and has a family legacy. He will certainly become an excellent ninja in the future. As for Uchiha Obito, his practical combat ability is also good. He can use the Great Fireball Jutsu at such a young age, showing that he lacks neither talent nor diligence. It's just that he's a bit reckless, and that needs to be honed properly. Kakashi, seeing Obito surrender, gracefully extended his hand. Obito glanced at it, then reluctantly took Kakashi's hand and stood up. The two then formed the reconciliation hand sign. Next, Asuma, Nohara Rin, Shizune, and others successively entered the arena. Their months of study and training were not for nothing. Unlike the sparring at the beginning of the school year, everyone could now intersperse the 3 basic jutsu and ninja tools into their practice. Especially those like Asuma, who could occasionally show off 1 or 2 wind-style jutsu. It was clear how much everyone had improved during this time. After school, Taichi, Guy, and Kakashi met up again to train in the small forest. Once their training was over, Taichi proactively stopped Kakashi and asked, "Kakashi, I saw a hint of kenjutsu in your sparring today. Have you started learning kenjutsu?" Kakashi was surprised to hear this. He had only started learning kenjutsu a little over a month ago, and he didn't expect Taichi to notice. His eyesight was truly impressive. Yes, is there a problem? Well, I also want to learn kenjutsu, but I don't have any way to access it. Could you teach me? Just teaching me the basics of kenjutsu would be enough, Taichi emphasized. I don't have a problem with it, but I need to go back and ask my father. After all, I'm just a beginner myself. That's truly wonderful. I didn't prepare anything this time, but next time, I'll cook for you myself and treat you to a meal. Upon hearing this, Kakashi's eyes lit up, and his motivation grew even stronger. Hitaki residence. Returning home, Kakashi watched his father, who had just untied his apron, and silently marveled at his father's precise timing. When he looked at the table full of dishes, character couldn't help but appear on his forehead. The food made by the White Fang of Konoha could only be described as edible, far from delicious. This made the meal Taichi had mentioned before they parted even more precious. The two didn't say much, quickly finishing their respective dinners. Just as Tsukumo was about to clear the table. Father. Tsukumo looked at Kakashi. Today. Then, he clearly explained to Tsukumo how Taichi had discovered him practicing swordsmanship and how Taichi had asked him to teach him swordsmanship. You mean he discovered you were learning swordsmanship just from your movements when using a kunai? Yes. Noticing that his father's focus was a bit off, Kakashi asked again, is it okay? Hitaki Tsukumo looked at Kakashi, pondered for a moment, then said, wait a moment. With that, he turned and went inside. A moment later, he came out and handed Kakashi a scroll. On the scroll were the words, Hitaki Swordsmanship Basics. This, is it okay? The contents of this scroll were not just ordinary basic swordsmanship. It could be said that Tsukumo's entire swordsmanship mastery was built upon the foundations laid out in this scroll. It was, in essence, the very core of the Hitaki clan. After all, it's just a basic swordsmanship scroll. Whether one succeeds or not still depends on the person, the individual is the foundation. Tsukumo said earnestly. Understood. Kakashi nodded solemnly. Meanwhile, at the root base. Lord Danzo, this is the latest intelligence on Matsushita Taichi, whom you requested to keep an eye on. Danzo took the material and began to read. He was surprised to see that Taichi had come first in the recent assessments competition and tied for first in practical combat. His progress was simply too fast. Additionally, we found traces of fire release and wind release in the forest where he trains after school. Based on the people present at the time, it's preliminarily confirmed that these were all cast by Matsushita Taichi. However, he has never used them at the Ninja Academy. Oh, at such a young age, he has already mastered 2 elemental ninjutsu. What a pity, he doesn't have a Kekkei Genkei, nor is he a secret technique ninja. Danzo secretly regretted. Continue to monitor him. Yes. After the root ninja left, Danzo looked at the material in his hand again. The more he read, the more he felt that this Matsushita Taichi was suitable for root, especially his self-disciplined attitude. It was just that his bloodline was too ordinary, which made Danzo hesitant and conflicted. After all, the Ninja Academy was directly managed by the Hokage, and taking someone from there would definitely require going through Hiruzen Sarutobi. After a long period of contemplation, he muttered, "It seems I'll have to make a trip myself." Back home, Taichi was cooking with a happy heart. If Kakashi agreed, then the problem Taichi had just encountered could be solved, and he wouldn't have to worry about where to learn swordsmanship anymore. Moreover, Kakashi's swordsmanship was inherited from the White Fang. Regardless of how well he was learning it now, the overall framework would be correct, and it would definitely be fine for building a foundation. With a way to learn, he needed to buy a sword tomorrow. I don't have a sword that fits me yet, his thoughts drifted further and further. Just then, a knock on the door came. Who is it? Taichi turned off the stove, put down his cooking utensils, and walked towards the door. It's me. Open the door. As soon as he heard the voice, Taichi knew it was Tsunade coming to freeload a meal. Opening the door, Sister Tsunade, did you come to see me for something? What, can't I visit you if there's nothing going on? You're not cute at all, kid. With that, she didn't even wait for the door to fully open before walking straight into the house. Taichi smiled, closed the door, and returned to the room. How could that be? I'm happy you're here, Sister Tsunade. I'm just making dinner, so if you haven't eaten, please stay and eat with me. Haha, how could I impose? But since you put it that way, I won't refuse. With that, she sat down at the dining table. Then, Sister Tsunade, please wait a moment, I just need to finish up. Taichi said as he walked towards the kitchen. Listening to the sounds from the kitchen, Tsunade didn't stand on ceremony. After all, once a stranger, twice an acquaintance, 3 or 4 times and it's like family. Just look, Tsunade took out a flask of sake from her robe, skillfully found a cup, and began pouring and drinking for herself. About 10 minutes later, Taichi brought the dishes to the table and wasn't surprised by Tsunade's posture. Once all the dishes were served, the two began to eat. During this time, the two chatted casually, mainly with Tsunade asking questions and Taichi answering. Taichi would also ask some questions about cultivation. After all, with such a master present, not asking would be a waste of resources. Oh, by the way, Sister Tsunade, there's something I'd like to ask for your help with. What is it? You rarely ask me for help. It's like this, school is about to be out for vacation, and I want to help out at the hospital during this time, and incidentally see if I can learn something. Taichi said a little awkwardly. Oh, you want to help out? How's your medical ninjutsu level? Tsunade couldn't help but ask out of curiosity. She knew Taichi was learning medical ninjutsu from No, but she didn't know his specific level. I know the healing jutsu, and my level is pretty good. You can test me too. Alright, listen. Tsunade didn't hesitate and immediately asked several common medical questions. Seeing Taichi answer fluently, she then increased the difficulty, mixing in some practical questions. This time, Taichi's answers were a bit stuttering. Tsunade also understood Taichi's level. His basic knowledge was decent, but he lacked practical experience. Then, Tsunade gathered chakra at her right fingertip, which glowed green, and drew it across her left forearm. A 10-centimeter long wound appeared, making Taichi's eye twitch. That was too intense. Hurry up and heal it, or the wound will close on its own if you're too slow. Tsunade urged. Oh, yes, yes. Taichi said, forming hand signs and applying the healing jutsu to Tsunade's wound. Under the faint green light, the wound healed at a visible speed. In a short while, the wound completely disappeared. Tsunade raised her hand, examined it carefully, and then touched it. Finding it perfectly restored, she couldn't help but exclaim, "Your healing jutsu does have some skill." Then, Sister Tsunade, do you think I can help out at the hospital? Taichi asked directly. Alright, I'll put in a word with the hospital then. You can just go directly to the director when you get there. Great, thank you, Sister Tsunade. Don't mention it. Just make more delicious food for me in the future. Tsunade didn't stand on ceremony. Definitely. Even without this, you're always welcome here anytime. You're such a sweet talker. Alright, I'm leaving after I finish eating, so I don't disturb your training. With that, Tsunade stood up and walked towards the door. Taichi also stood up to see her off. After seeing Tsunade off, Taichi went back inside to clear the dishes, then headed out to his training spot. While his chakra was still abundant, it was only right to practice ninjutsu by the river and gain more experience points. After exhausting most of his chakra, he practiced basic taijutsu and basic meditation, finally completing his daily tasks. This was Taichi's daily routine, as great strength is accumulated through continuous daily effort. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. A great river is formed from tiny streams. Thanks for watching.